All right, the Graveyard Chat is off and running. YouTube.com/101ESPN STL. Over there, we're getting a lot of, hey, Blues content today. It's time for some Blues content here on BK and Ferrario with Alex and T-Bone. I'm BK. And Alex, that is where we begin. We begin with the St. Louis Blues, who put out their projected lineup for tonight against the Senators. The top line is as follows: Buchnevich, Thomas, Snuggerud.
Would have never guessed that.
The second line: Holloway, Suter, and Kyrou. Third line is Joseph Shin and Bukestad. And the fourth line, Lucic, Sonny, and Walker. Alex, this is what they had out at morning skate yesterday. A noticeable name that is not mentioned there is Alexander Texier. And your opinion on this is Texier is the odd man out right now. It looks like Lucic has a real chance to be able to carve his way into this roster. How much are you willing to read into this, though? One preseason game with like a week left prior to the end of camp.
I mean, I'm willing to read into it pretty significantly because this is the only game that the Blues are going to have a full-looking lineup. My guess is on Saturday when they play Chicago, in Chicago, that's going to look more like an AHL roster. Guys called up from Springfield will play the game. They have to start, I think it's 100 games total of guys who have played in the NHL. So you'll see Texier in that game on Saturday. This one, to me, tells me that the Blues have their opening night look. Now, Joseph's not playing on the third line. That's going to be Neighbors. My expectation is Lucic won't be playing either. That's probably going to be Toropchenko. But to me, it's not so much of these line combinations as it was yesterday, because when they were skating, they had the game lines together. Neighbors and Toropchenko didn't skate. Texier skated with the second group, and the second group was the Dvorskys, the Stenbergs, the Kaskamakis. So to me, I think this competition is telling you right now, Joseph, Lucic are those extra two forwards, unless they decide to do some type of roster manipulation in terms of a PTO that extends longer, send Lucic to the minors to play a few games and then come back up. But I don't believe Texier is on this team. I think it's going to be Joseph and Lucic.
Can we do an aside real quick?
Yeah.
One. Alex, you holding up all right, bud?
I woke up 2 days ago and my voice was just shot. And I don't know if it's...
We're 2 weeks into preseason, and Alex just sounds...
Well, I think what it is...
He smoked 6 packs of cigarettes.
Still 84 games to go.
I think what it is the first two preseason games that I did, they were Saturday, Sunday, and those are weekends where we're not doing our show. I've only done like 2 weekday preseason games, and I think Tuesday, Thursday...
Like 20 straight days now.
No, I don't think but I also don't think my voice strength is like prepared to go 11 hours where you're talking all day. So, yeah, voice is shot. Not good, but the good news is I got 2 more of these. And then 4 days of no preseason.
Follow-up question. Full-time glasses now?
No, my contacts are ripped.
Okay.
Any other shots at me you want to take?
Yeah, last one. Are you going to breathe into the microphone?
No! Come on, man.
Alex, yesterday we were doing an underdog read.
BK's big into body
and Alex
shaming.
is just over. I texted him after, and I was like, hey, man, I just wanted to mention, we can use it, it'll work, but I think you were kind of breathing into the mic there.
I went home and told my wife that. I said, hey, BK told me I'm breathing into the mic too loud, so this is it. I've hit my final straw. I need to start exercising more. Now I got a workout plan in place. I wanted to have dessert last night after dinner. Didn't have it. Had a turkey burger with no bun and arugula. Like, you've ruined me, man. My voice is shot. Now I'm insecure about my glasses, and my pants don't fit.
Other than that, Mrs. Lincoln, how was the play? All right, T-Bone, so in your opinion, Alexander Texier, feel like he's on the outside looking in?
Yeah, I think so. I agree with what Alex is saying. The fact that he skated with that second group yesterday seems to signal that he's on the outside looking in, and I think it shows you that it's one of 2 things for me on, okay, so if you send him down, you got to put him on waivers. So it's one of 2 things. Okay, either they don't think somebody's going to claim him and they can sneak him through as part of their calculation, or 2, even if they can't sneak him through, they feel comfortable with what Stenberg has shown in camp to where he can become that first call-up, and they don't mind losing him, and he doesn't have a role here, and they don't need the 10 to 15 goal scorer. They value more of what Lucic's role would be, which is coming in and out of the lineup, being that physical presence when it's needed against some of these teams that they feel like that they've been kind of bullied by over the last couple years.
Hey, Alex, can I ask you a follow-up question on this? How much should I care?
Oh, man.
Which direction this goes? Genuinely asking, because I have a hard time really putting up much of a...
Well, let me ask you a follow-up
give a you-know-what factor here.
Let me ask you a follow-up question to your question. How much did Texier impact the team last year?
I mean, in a positive way, not much.
I mean, I'm not trying to be cruel about it, but Texier didn't make a significant change, in my opinion, for the team. Like, when they went on that run, it's not because Texier, like, got on fire and they tried to make a run to the playoffs because of him. Like, no, it was Holloway, it was Parayko, it was Fowler. I think Texier is a good piece to have when you need a replacement for a guy that goes down. But you always know what you're going to get with Texier. To me, it's just, it's empty possessions. And Lucic might also be that, but there's another element to Lucic's game that he provides that I don't believe Texier does. I think Texier and Joseph are very similar players. Both don't have a whole lot of offensive upside, at least we've seen in the NHL, but Joseph is an awesome penalty killer, and Texier's not a penalty killer. So you're talking about a guy who's strictly 5-on-5, probably 12 to 13 minutes, and if I've got that guy there, man, give me 12 to 13 minutes of 5-on-5 play with Lucic, who might be doing a different role than Texier. The hard part is if he gets claimed off of waivers. I don't believe he will, because if you claim him on waivers, teams have to keep him on their roster in the NHL for 30 days. And even the teams that have a lot of cap space, they've got younger players they want to see what they are, like the Blackhawks and the Sharks.
But Alex, even if he does, you've got Stenberg that's waiting in the wings, and it sure sounds like Jim Montgomery has liked what he's seen from Stenberg in camp so far, so I don't think it's the end of the world. Is the drop-off going to be all that significant going from Texier to Stenberg or Texier to Dvorsky or even Texier to Kaskamaki?
Yep.
Maybe. I don't think so, though. And the only scenario in which any of that matters is if you lose probably two forwards. Because if you lose one forward, you're going the one top 9 guy, you go to Joseph. If you lose 2 top 9 guys, you might end up seeing like Sonny up there. And then, if another one goes down at that point, now you're digging a little deeper into your depth at the AHL level. But before then, I just don't know how much this really matters. And if you think, and it sure seems as though they might feel this way, if you think that there's real value to what Lucic can bring to the table, whether that's in the dressing room or on the ice 10 times over the course of the first 50 games of the season, that's more valuable than what Texier is going to bring to the roster. And the downside is not all that significant. So I say all of that to say this. I understand Texier was a guy that had some real upside, and they were excited about, and they wanted him to be a part of this thing. At this point, given where the roster is at, I just don't really know if it matters which direction they decide to go here. So I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt and say, like, yeah, okay, if you want to keep Lucic and the downside to this is you lose Alexander Texier, so be it. I'm fine with that.
The way I look at this is you look at the depth that the Blues have once they signed Suter and Bukestad, because both can play the wing if need be, and both are centermen. If you were to lose, let's say, Pavel Buchnevich for an extended period of time, who are you putting up on that top line? Are you putting...
Jake Neighbors.
Okay, so who's playing the wing with Braden Shen?
Joseph.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you'd have to have 2 different guys in your top 9 that go down before I get to Alexander
and that's
Texier
what I'm getting,
or Stenberg or whoever the next guy
is. And that's what I'm getting at. When you look at those extra forwards, like Sundqvist is a guy that you're fine if you don't want to, but if you have to play him in a bigger role, you can.
He played all year as your third-line center last year for a team that made it to the playoffs.
Joseph played on the second line at times last year in the playoffs. And then on the fourth line, if Walker or Toropchenko goes down, you have Lucic or Joseph there. I don't know if I feel comfortable with Texier in a top 6 role.
Or Sonny, or you can drop down Bukestad in the event that you need to.
I don't think you play Texier in a top 6 role or on a fourth line role. So Texier is a very individual type player that you'd want on the third line that maybe has some offense to him. That's Dvorsky or Stenberg throughout the season. So if you gave me the 2 options because it felt like they really wanted Lucic on this roster of Texier and Joseph, I think Joseph does more for this team with the role he plays than what Texier would be able to, which is why it's probably the decision they're going to go with.
All right, last thing we wanted to get to here when it comes to the Blues and their morning skate, what they have today on the ice, it looks like they've got their power play units ready to go. The top unit is Snuggerud as the net front. Now, this stuff all changes as they go along, but just the way that they set up. Snuggie is the net front with Thomas, Shin, Buchnevich, and then Fowler as the power play quarterback with that top unit. Second unit, Sonny is the net front presence with Kyrou, Suter, and Holloway, your second line, and then Justin Falk as the power play quarterback for that unit. Alex, what was your biggest takeaway when you saw these units put together?
I didn't like a couple of the decisions. One, I don't like Sundqvist being the net front presence on that second unit. You got a 6'6" Nick Bukestad playing third line for you that you think can be a winger, and he's a guy that could take faceoffs for you. Why wouldn't Nick Bukestad be on that second power play unit? I'm going back to look at when he scored the 22 goals. He only had 2 power play goals, but earlier in his career, 7 power play goals and 21 points on the power play, 6 power play goals, 10 power play points. Like, this is a guy that I'd want on my power play unit as a net front presence, but maybe they're just going off of what worked last year. And then the other one I didn't like is I don't like Holloway on that second power play unit. Last year, it felt like Holloway was that one-timer threat that we were talking about. I still believe this power play is too predictable. Now, we haven't seen a whole lot of it. I would prefer a Snuggerud Holloway on one power play unit together because now you have 2 options on power play one-timers.
Yeah, I agree with that because, like, I don't think Booch provides much of a threat for a one-time shot, and he's the one that's on that top power play unit. That's really the only one for me. Sundqvist and Buke said they would serve the same role, so I'm okay with it. And Sonny was okay at that role last year when he was on the power play units. It's really that top unit where I look at it and go, man, I just don't know if Booch really fits into what you would want from that one-time shot perspective.
I just look at it and I'm like, okay, well, they want their top line up there, and then they want their second line together. I think this is about chemistry as much as anything, and these, we know how it works. They could change these up tomorrow. They could change them up in the middle of the preseason game, and it wouldn't be a surprise to any of us. So I do wonder, I'd be curious, I don't know if he'll answer this today, tomorrow, whenever, but if we have the opportunity to do so, I'd like to ask him, do you think there's value in having the line combinations together on the power play, and does that help you after the power play has concluded? To have Thomas, Booch, and Snuggie together, to have Kyrou, Suter, and Holloway together, and in the event that it does, I'm guessing that's part of what they're going for there. All right, alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. You got BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. 314-399-9646. That's the Air Comfort Service text line to get involved in the show. We'll get to Joey Vitale, Blues analyst for 101 ESPN and FanDuel Sports Midwest. He's going to join us in about 15 minutes. But next, these playoffs feel wide open in Major League Baseball. But who the hell are these Game 3 starters that we're going to watch today? We'll talk about that next year on 101 ESPN. Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. You've got BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. So the baseball has been pretty good. Pretty good so far. Yesterday, 3 of the 4 series that a team was up 1-0. The other team won. The one team that moved on, who could have seen this one coming? The LA Dodgers won 8-4 last night against the Cincinnati Reds. Dodgers advancing to the NLDS as every single human being expected. Do you guys think Cincinnati Reds fans enjoyed this? Where they're like, yeah, team made it to the postseason.
No.
They're probably angry that ownership will be like, hey, look, it was a success. We made the playoffs again without committing much to our
I think
payroll.
you enjoy it for a day where you know you made the playoffs and it's like, we're a playoff team. And then you're like, Dodgers.
Yeah.
There was no excitement of that series. They were dead in the water pretty much every single game.
Yeah, when Ohtani homered on like the first at bat of the series, it's like, yeah, no, we don't have a chance.
One of these teams is not like the other. So 3 of them, though, 3 of the series, Tigers versus Guardians, Padres versus Cubs, and Red Sox versus Yankees all advancing to a game 3 in their respective series. To put this in perspective, this is rare because we have now had this format since 2020. So 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 5 years now. And Alex, in this format, we have seen exactly 4 series make it to a 3rd game in that respective series. Almost all of these are basically done after the first couple of games. And T-Bone mentioned it yesterday. We have not yet seen a team come back from down 1-0 in that series. So this is potentially going to be something that is relatively unique. It feels like all of these series are pretty wide open. I mean, Padres versus Cubs, I don't have a significant lean one way or the other. I think the Padres will win, but that's as much on what I thought coming into the season as it is over what we've seen from 162. Red Sox versus Yankees, they look pretty evenly matched to me. Tigers versus Guardians, frankly, I don't really care. But again, they look, relatively speaking, evenly matched to me. Have you guys had any significant takeaways from what we have seen through the first couple of games of these respective series?
I thought it was wide open in the National League up until I saw the Dodgers play last night. Dodgers doing what they did last night. I was like, okay, so the Dodgers are going to be the best team in the National League once again. Like, I mean, I'm sure it's going to be more competitive than I'm giving it credit when the Dodgers and Phillies match up. But looking at that other side of whoever wins between the Padres and Cubs that take on the Brewers, neither of those teams can live up to what the Dodgers are doing because the Dodgers are what I thought. They're a team that can just skate by in the regular season, but when the playoffs come around, boom, click, Mookie Betts is back to himself, Shohei Ohtani's hitting bombs, and the team has Kike Hernandez. So I think the National League, after watching the Dodgers in that series against the Reds, and I know it's the Reds, Dodgers are the best team in the National League. The American League feels a little bit more wide open, but, I mean, I give a lot of credit to the Seattle Mariners and what they did and looking at them as might be the best team. So
Dodgers-Phillies is going to be so much fun.
I don't really feel like this is as wide open anymore because of what I've seen with the Dodgers, and now the Dodgers have just become that juggernaut.
You think that the Dodgers are significantly better than the Phillies, though?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Without Zach Wheeler? Yeah, I do.
I don't know that they're significantly better, but they seem to be trending in the right direction because now their offense, if they're going to win games, it's not going to be the formula that it was last year. Their formula last year was, all right, Jack, go give us like 3 innings, and then our bullpen's going to cover the rest of the 6. They can't trust their bullpen. Their bullpen gave up more runs last night in the game, but their rotation is clicking at the right time. Snell was awesome in game 1. Yamamoto was great last night with 9 strikeouts.
Shohei starting game 1 of the DS, I saw.
Shohei's going to get game 1. I think they're going either Glass now or Kershaw will be that 4th starter, which isn't bad. And then the other guy goes to the bullpen. Yeah. So it's going to be a different formula.
Kershaw in the bullpen, let's be honest. We always know how that's going to go.
But you look at them, and it's their offense. And that's where I don't know if the Phillies will be able to shut them down, because how do you shut down their big 3 of Shohei Ohtani, Mookie Betts, who I understand had a bad regular season? He looks fine. He looks like he's getting back to being himself now. And then Freddie Freeman. And add on top of that, you've got Teoscar Hernandez and Kike Babe Ruth Hernandez, who shows up for the playoffs. He's been awesome so far in this series.
And they're not even using Will Smith yet because he's not healthy.
Exactly. So, like, I look at the Dodgers and go, man, that lineup is going to be tough to face. I think they probably are the best team in the National League. I think the Phillies will give them a run for their money. But I think if the Phillies don't beat them, I don't think anybody's beating them.
If the Phillies had Wheeler, I'd feel like it's a little bit more closer. But, I mean, I know they still have Suarez and Sanchez. Like, they still have good pitchers. But that Dodgers team is why I went into the playoffs thinking it's like they're still the best team. It's just a matter of do they click at the right time.
I still believe whoever wins that series is going to the World Series out of the National League. I prefer the Philly side of things. It's basically the same thing, though, that I said about the Cubs versus the Padres. It's all my priors. I thought coming into the season, the Phillies are this really special group of talent, collection of talent. Dodgers, don't get me wrong, they are as well, but I think they have more fatal flaws than what the Phillies have right now. The Phillies, I trust the bullpen more, and that's a crazy thing to say about a Dave Dombrowski team, famous last words, but I do trust their bullpen more than I trust the Dodgers bullpen. I also just don't know how much I can take from this series. The Dodgers played against a team that was not playoff caliber. Let's just be real about this. The Reds were a mediocre baseball team from start to finish this season, and they looked the part of a mediocre baseball team once they got into the playoffs. So I'm not surprised that the Dodgers looked as though they outclassed their inferior opponent. That should have been the case. That was the expectation going in. So I don't want to make too much of those two games that we saw from that very limited sample size. I think when they go up against the Phillies, it's going to look significantly different. Could be wrong, though. On these other series today, let's go through them real quick before we get to Joey Vitale on the other side here on BK and Ferrario. First of all, man, the names that you get for the starting pitching matchups, not exactly what it was on day one. Things have changed a bit. As we go through this, it's a lot of young guys, especially the Red Sox versus the Yankees. Early versus Schlitter. Now, Schlitter's a really good young starter. He's been up for half of the season. Early has been up for about a month. And that's your matchup for game 3. Winner, advance, loser, go home scenario for the Red Sox versus the Yankees. Tyone versus the corpse of Yu Darvish is your matchup for the midday game. And Flaherty, we're all familiar with his work, versus, I'm going to be totally candid with you guys, wasn't familiar with this gentleman, Slade Ciccone.
God, what a name.
Is the starter today for the Cleveland Guardians. He this season had a 4.3 ERA coming off of last season, a 6.7 ERA for the Arizona Diamondbacks. So that's your starting pitching matchup.
Right, so say it with me. Bullpen games.
Yeah.
No, outgetter games.
Yeah, that's what this feels like.
Oh.
Do you guys have a lean one way or the other, Tigers versus Guardians?
I think it'll be the Guardians. It's a flip of a coin, though.
Can I be honest? I don't care who wins that series.
Same. I mentioned that earlier.
So,
They'll be done in 3.
Detroit, I guess.
They'll be done in 3 once they get to the next round.
I'll take Detroit. I don't have a significant lean one way or the other. Padres versus Cubs. Do you guys have a significant lean one way or the other here? Tyone versus Darvish.
I'm going Cubs. Darvish was not good when he came back from injury or whatever.
Yeah, the only reason the Cubs are playing a game 3 is because that outgetter thing that Craig Counsell came up with didn't really work very well for him.
Did not work at all. I'm going with the Padres here. I think this is going to be a very quick hook for you, Darvish. And then Red Sox versus the Yankees. I think I'm going to take the Yankees on this one. I like their side of the starting pitching matchup, but this is the fun one. This is the game that I'm actually legitimately intrigued to watch today.
Baseball thinks so, too. That's why it's the last one that's on.
No doubt.
Which I'm with you.
It's been a fun series thus far. It's been great.
Honestly, the only one that I don't care about is Detroit and Cleveland. That's the one that the other two are going to be actually I'm going to move on because I can't get a word out.
They're going to be fun to watch.
My breathing stopped my talking.
I lean towards in that Red Sox-Yankees one. I actually now flip and lean Yankees. I've been leaning Red Sox, but they pushed their bullpen so hard yesterday to try and just secure that series. And now those guys could potentially be running on fumes. Yankees, for the most part, their bullpen should be pretty fresh. Both their starters are gone 6 innings. Well, that's fair.
Their bullpen stinks.
But their starters have given them 6 innings in both games. Like, I feel a little bit better that they've got a fresher bullpen.
Yeah, but if you're Cora, you're probably saying throughout those first early innings that it's still early.
Their starter's name is early for anybody that wasn't familiar. All right, coming up in 15 minutes, 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line for questions and answers. Joey Vitale joins us next here on 101 ESPN.
Tanner Hendricks here with a Sports Center update driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. Last night, the Dodgers took down the Reds, sweeping their NL wildcard series, meaning they advanced to the NLDS, where they'll take on the Philadelphia Phillies. 3 of the 4 wildcard series, though, go to a Game 3 today. Tigers, Guardians at 2 o'clock, Padres at Cubs at 4 o'clock, and then Red Sox at Yankees at 7 o'clock tonight. And the Blues back in action, preseason game against the Ottawa Senators. Well, pregame coverage tonight starting at 6 o'clock with Alex Ferrario, with puck drop at 7 o'clock with Chris Kerber and Joey Vitale. The Sports Center update driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. SeaMalondoff.com. Chevy, together we drive. Are you kidding me?
With Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. Happy to go out to the Calier and Thompson hotline to be joined by our friend, the Blues analyst for 101 ESPN and, of course, FanDuel Sports Midwest. He's Joey Vitale joining us as he does each and every Thursday. Joe, how's it going today, man?
Joey.
What's up, boys? I'm doing good. Just heading home from the rink right now. Just got done talking to Dylan Holloway, Tyler Tucker, and we caught Jim Montgomery's presser as well. So they're looking forward to a wonderful game tonight against the Ottawa Senators. Welcoming the Ottawa Senators tonight all the way up north from Canada for a preseason game. That's a hell of a journey.
BK, you know where Ottawa is, right?
Of course, it's in Canada.
Yep, there you go. Ottawa, Canada. That's what they say.
It's the capital.
Yeah.
It's the capital.
How do you think the players in Ottawa feel about taking a preseason trip
Not
down
good. Not good. Not good. Not good at all.
Why did they do this, Joe?
I have no idea. I still haven't asked the right question. We were talking too much hockey, but the obvious one is, what the heck are you doing here? But, you know, I will say for the fans coming tonight, or if you're listening to Curbs, and I do believe Brady Tkachuk's going to be in the lineup here tonight, so that'll be kind of fun. Stutzel is going to make the trip as well. So some of their heavy names will be a part of the game, which is exciting, but I really can't tell you, but I'm excited for Blues hockey.
Does Tkachuk have that much pull? Where he's like, hey, I would really like to play a preseason game in St. Louis this year.
Yeah, he wants some toasted ravioli.
Yeah, maybe he just wants to see his buddies at Obi Clark's briefly before the game, and he asked the team if they could come and support that. And yeah, I guess when you're the captain, I guess you got that kind of pull.
Guess you can do that. Joe, so we talked about this a little on postgame Tuesday night, and I think on our Last Minute Blues podcast, I think we had like 35 comments saying like they're 0-4 in the preseason. How much does that matter from an NHL player's mindset?
Not at all. It really doesn't. I mean, it's silliness in the sense that the record matters. I will say, though, that, you know, what the coach, Jim Montgomery, even talked about this morning, he talked about just if you're a competitor, you want to win anything, right? We all know that. So he's a competitor, and he still wants to win. He goes, I don't care what kind of game it is. But does it have an impact on the wins and losses that we're going to find that first week starting next Thursday when the Minnesota comes to town? I don't believe so at all. So it's kind of twofold. Do you care about winning? Yes, you're a competitor. You want to win. But does it have an effect on Thursday? No. This is a pretty dialed-in group. They got the wheels churning. Things are oiled up really well. But I appreciate Jim Montgomery's comments this morning about that. You know, and it really goes to the competitive nature of all these guys. I think I've told this story before. I'll say it again if I haven't told it on your guys' show. But I remember when I was in Pittsburgh there, and I remember the Prefontaine movie. I don't know what the movie's called, but it's The Runner from Oregon. You guys know the name of that movie?
Joe, I got nothing for you, man.
The running game?
Something like that. But it's basically about this runner from Oregon. His name was Prefontaine.
Oh, it's called Prefontaine.
There you go.
That's an interesting name. Hey, I would love to be at the producer and directors meetings when, guys, what are we fast? Go run, man. He's like, how about just his name? Like, oh, yeah, I guess we just do his name.
Forrest Gump was already taken, so they had to go with something else.
Sometimes it's the simpler the better. You know, like all these Disney movies, you know, Frozen, Up. You know what I mean?
And Kanto. Thought you were going further with that. There we go.
Coco. There's just these Luca.
My boy.
Nailed it.
There's just all these movies. I just got one word.
Ratatouille. We can keep going. Bambi.
Like Bambi. You know, the old days. Like, no. Back in the, like, why do you gotta get so complicated? Like, a night in the museum.
Everything, everywhere, all at once.
Yeah, it's
the night in the museum was pretty self-explanatory. It was about a night in the museum, so there wasn't a lot of creativity there.
I mean, if there was one movie if there was one movie that just pretty much, there was spoiler alert when you look at the title, it's A Night in the Museum. Anyway, let's see, where the heck was I going with that? Oh, yeah, so Prefontaine was a movie, obviously named Prefontaine, after the runner Prefontaine. And I remember I was in Pittsburgh, and Sid would say, hey, have you ever seen this Prefontaine movie? I was like, no, I looked at it once. I saw the trailer. It was like super old. Like, dude, you got to watch this movie. And Prefontaine, there's a great scene from that movie that, he was doing this charity run with a bunch of these, younger kids from school and things like that. And I remembered a real life incident that happened in my life with Sid based off of something similar happened in the movie. In the movie, Prefontaine's running with these kids, part of a charity thing, and at the very end, he kind of speeds up to win. And it's kind of an interesting scene. Like, why wouldn't you let the kids win? I remember we were doing this race on the ice, a year before I watched this movie. The same thing, playing with a bunch of kids, and these kids were playing. They had a short little race, and Sid kind of won at the very end. And I'm like, oh man, come on, like give the kid a break, like let him win. And the line from the movie that Sid told, I didn't know it was the line from the movie. And when he said it to me, he kind of laughed. Boy, I got to land this plane. Does this make any sense to you guys? It makes no sense in my head.
You lost me like 5 minutes ago. You got to land this plane, Joey.
Okay,
You're circling the landing strip. Come on, man.
The value of winning, I think.
I thought it was about running.
So when I was doing this thing with Sid, he didn't let the kids win. He said something to me with a smile, and I didn't know where it came from, but it came from this movie. Anyway, in the movie, after he wins, he looks at his body. This is the worst story I've ever. I'm sorry, guys. Anyway, let me figure this out. He says you can't let losing creep into your mind.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, there we go. We landed it. Alex, I have anxiety about flying. I always assume, Joey, I don't know if we've talked about this before. My first thought when we go up in the air is, we're about to hit another plane. And Joe, I got to be honest, I feared for a while there that you were about to run into another plane.
I didn't fear anything. I was ready to get up out of my seat and go knock on the pilot's door. Be like, are we ever going to land? We flew past Disney World 4 times already.
I know. That was my bad. I got two stories mixed into one, and I apologize. Long story, Sid, Prefontaine, they don't even let kids beat them because you can't let losing creep in your mind. And that's what I'm trying to say. You want to win because you're a competitor.
That's all we heard.
So, Joe, is that why Milan Lucic might make this team?
Maybe.
Wow. Wow.
You know what? I tell you what. Why is Milan Lucic here? I'm going to tell you why he's here. There was a play last game where Matthew Joseph, he came in like a beeline. He looked like a hummingbird on a sugar rush. He came flying in. He smoked this guy behind the net. It was a great hit. And I'm thinking, geez, that was a big hit. And there was no response. There was not 1 ounce of response from the Dallas Stars. I can't remember who Matthew Joseph hit. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, we saw Montreal-Ottawa highlights the other night. It was like 150 penalty minutes from all the hitting and fights. No one touched Matthew Joseph. And I said on the air, I go, this is why you love to have a guy named Milan Lucic, not only on your team, but especially and specifically on the ice with a hit like that. This is what he's going to provide, guys. He's going to allow the skilled players to create more room. They're not going to get hit as much. He's going to allow his line mates to be delivering hits more. I mean, if I'm Nathan Walker, I was the player on the team last year. I had more hits than any other. I'm doubling that, and you're going to run the star players because you just don't care because you got some toughness. I mean, Milan Lucic, this guy's a man. He doesn't even wear a half shield. He's like Ryan O'Reilly. There's only like 3 or 4 guys in the league. Jamie Benn's another one that don't even wear a visor. But clearly, Milan Lucic has an impact. I'm really pulling for him, like I said. I'm hoping he has a great night tonight. I'm excited about the line he's on tonight. He's with some veteran players, some smart hockey players. He's got Sundqvist in the middle, and he's got Nathan Walker, who's just a spark plug. So I'm excited about that line. I'm hoping he can continue to take another step. I hope we will see him again on Saturday.
Joe, on the defensive side of things, we haven't seen a whole lot of games like this to where all 6 of them are together. What do you make of where this defensive group is at going into this season?
I feel really good about where they're at. I think they have a really nice blend. I think that the blend and the versatility is really what stands out. Not just the versatility or the, I would say the diversity of the amount of games as far as like veteran players, young players, but style, right? So let's start with the old and young. You have the mindful guys, the wise guys like the Cam Fowlers and the Justin Faulks and slowly becoming more and more the Colt Bracos. Guys that have been around the game a long time. Listen, when you're around something a long time, you're just going to get smarter. That's why just the more you play, the smarter you get. It is what it is. Luckily for us, Cam Fowler and certainly Justin Falk, at their ages and as much as they played, their feet can keep up with their mind. You know, at that age, your game's over. You know, we saw that with most recently like a Ryan Suter. You know, his skating started to become a little bit more suspect, and that's why he's probably having a hard time finding a job. Marco Scandella, another defenseman recently that retired from the St. Louis Blues, their feet got a little bit slow, and everyone around them got a little bit faster. But Cam Fowler and Justin Falk, with their age, they can still skate, and that's why they're still playing the game, and they're smart. And then you got this young guy. Talked to Tucker for about 20 minutes this morning. He's doing great. Big smile on his face. He's so excited to be back from his injury. He's playing with another young player in Mayu. Guys that are inexperienced, but are going to just keep their game simple. And that's where I'll kind of trend into now, the style of play. There's a good versatility. There's a good diversity, rather, of the different styles of play. You have puck-moving guys in Fowler. You have guys that can skate in Parayko. You guys that can defend in Falk. Philip Broberg, he's kind of this Swiss Army knife. He can do everything. And then this bottom pair I'm really excited about. You know, not Broberg, but Mayu, of course, with Tucker. You know, Mayu's going to play on the right-handed shot, and then Tucker now on the left. These are young kids that keep their game simple. But I'm telling you right now, you heard it here first on the BK and Ferrario show. This Logan Mayu, he is a skilled guy. He can run a power play, but this guy's nasty. This Mayu, he's a nasty camper, boy. I've seen him play a little bit now. He's chippy. He whacks. He hacks. He can scrum it up. We certainly saw he can fight. This bottom pair, yes, Tucker's got some grease to him, but this Mayu, make no mistake, big boy. Giant hands, by the way. I shook his hand at the Blues and Brews thing. More like shaking a sack of bananas. This guy had big old hands on him.
A sack of bananas. I've never heard that.
Have you ever
turn a phrase before?
Hold on. Have you ever shaken a sack of bananas?
Yeah, I have. I never met Tony Robbins, but if I were to beat Tony Robbins, I'm sure he would have a big old mitt.
Yeah, he's like a giant, so that makes sense.
Yeah, that guy.
He's a self-help guy?
Yeah, I've never really heard. I'm flabbergasted on the like shaking a bag of bananas.
A sack of bananas. Different.
A bag and a sack are the same things.
Or a bundle? I was thinking more like a bundle. Like you just grab a big bowl. What are those called? What's like a bunch of bananas called?
Bushel? I'm not actually sure what you'd call
it's
them.
not a bushel. A bunch of bananas. Bananas?
That's what I was thinking.
Cluster.
Like
A bunch.
A cluster. Like a big old cluster of bananas. Like that's what it was like shaking his hand, like a big old cluster of bananas.
Apparently, you can use a lot of different phrasing. A hand of bananas, a bunch of bananas, a bushel of bananas,
rack.
a stalk of bananas, or a bundle of bananas. All would be, according to Google.com, possible ways that you could phrase it.
And more of Joey knowledge for you. An individual banana.
Hang on to those banana peels, too. Those banana peels, they'll shine your shoes if you don't need any shoe shine.
Didn't know that, actually.
That's true.
Yeah.
That one I did know.
You could call
what it's actually individually called, wasn't aware.
You could call an individual banana in a cluster, call it a finger.
Sure, of course.
And multiple fingers are a hand in a cluster of
Bingo.
bananas.
The banana is the most popular fruit in the world. Do you guys know that, too?
I had a banana and grapes on the way here today, Joe. So
They're so easy to grab. That's right. It's the easiest fruit to grab to go. That's why it's the most popular fruit in the world.
Amen
Joe, be well, man. We'll talk with you again next week.
Oh, and by the way, we're eating bananas the wrong way. The top part's more the handle. We've been eating the wrong way all this time. You're supposed to flip your banana around. All right, boys. Have a good day.
Take it easy,
God,
Joe.
I love you, Joe.
It's Joey Vitale, Blues
that, man.
analyst for 101 ESPN and FanDuel Sports
Seriously,
Midwest.
how long did you stick with him on that Prefontaine story?
I tried to. I thought for a while. I was like, all right, this is going to get somewhere. This is going to get somewhere. We got about 90 seconds in, and I was like, I'm not sure it's going to get somewhere. Once he told it for the fourth time, where he's like, and then he won the race. That's what I was like, Joe, I don't really know that I'm following anymore.
I mean, don't get me wrong. That man is like a brother to me. I'm around him all the time for hockey, but that was the first time I think I was lost in a Joey story. Most of the time I could stick with him. Not that one.
A lot going on, and I love it.
Yep.
It's
also,
it's
a lot
one
of
my
people
favorite
sending
times of
the
every week.
one-word movies, and Dumbo, we forgot.
Sure.
They changed The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe to just Narnia.
Yeah.
One words, T-Bone. It's how people live.
He's Alex. That's T-Bone. I'm BK. If you missed any of our conversation with Joey Vitale, it was an all-timer. 101ESPN.com. Free 101 ESPN app is where you go to find it. That is always sponsored by
Shea Fruit Company.
Coming up next, 314-399-9646 is the Your Comfort Service text line for questions and answers here on 101 ESPN. Football season is in full swing, and Underdog is the best place to get in on all of the action. You can select entries and win money right now in the state of Missouri. Alex, over on the Underdog app, I pulled it up today. I had a 50% profit boost. I also have something called Boostober, which is promos every day throughout the month. Right now, it's an unlimited 30% profit boost, so be sure to check out your Underdog app every single day. For tonight, Thursday Night Football, I've got 3 different picks for this one. In my entry, I've got Devontae Adams higher on his touchdowns, Blake Corum lower on his rushing yards, Eddie Pinheiro higher on his field goals made. Put that together, 3 different picks, 7-1 odds over on the Underdog app.
BK did that in just a couple of minutes. That's how easy it is to use over on Underdog. You get your entries right and win up to 5,000 times your cash. Download the Underdog app today. Sign up with promo code BKO to score $100 in bonus funds or entries when you play your first $5. Again, promo code BKO. Underdog, make plays, win money. Must be 18 plus and present in Missouri. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. Concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org.
314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line for questions and answers. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and get them in right now on the Air Comfort Service text line. From the big ol' bub. I think I said that correctly. Guys, who do you have with the highest expectations? MVP and a guy who won't be with the team at the end of the Blues season. All right.
What? That was like 4 different things, the big old bub.
Highest expectations, MVP, and who won't be with the Blues at the end of the season.
Highest expectations would be Holloway. MVP would be Binnington. And Lucic won't be with the team at the end of the season.
Highest expectations, Thomas. MVP, Holloway. Guy who won't be with the team at the end of the season, Joseph.
Can I change my guy that won't be here? Matt Kessel.
Oh, that's a good one. Skinner.
Yeah, I think Skinner will take that at some point.
All right, 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text
get to
line
answer.
for questions and answers.
Just text me your thoughts and I'll put them on the air.
Okay, I was thinking Snuggerud highest expectations from the fan base.
Okay.
You know, because that's the
MVP?
guy that MVP Thomas, and then I would say guy that's not here. I would say Lucic as well.
There you go.
I'll change my answer.
Jack B's Hampton House. When the Ravens miss the playoffs, do you think Harbaugh will be fired?
They won't miss the playoffs. And he won't be fired. Even if they miss the playoffs, they can reason it by look at all the guys that we were missing. Lamar missed 4 weeks. No, Harbaugh's not fired. He's one of those guys that I think you don't fire.
Yeah, if they miss the playoffs, I don't think they would do it because they can look at injuries and say this is the reason why we missed the playoffs. But at some point, I wonder, and I don't know if this is fair or not, at some point I have to wonder, though, if you have to think that, okay, are things going stale in Baltimore? Harbaugh's been there for such a long time. We've had this conversation before when Mo was running the Cardinals of, hey, Theo Epstein said, like, hey, after 10 years, maybe that's the right time to kind of step away from things because things can grow stale. I wonder if you're seeing some of that with Baltimore. There doesn't seem to be much that's new and creative from them, and maybe that's unfair of me to say, but maybe if they did make a change, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world.
From Well Endowed. Guys, when all is said and done, who had the better Cardinals career, Arenado or Roland? Roland. Team success as
World
much as
Series,
personal.
Agreed.
Played like an MVP. It's just he also had 2 other MVPs on his team.
Yeah, and he didn't, at least that I remember, didn't fall off of a cliff like Arenado has here in his final 2 years.
From the 573, aside from Busch, what is your favorite park to watch playoff baseball? I've narrowed it down to Philly and Boston. I'm assuming this is like based on the environment that you can see on television because we haven't.
I've only been to
these
2
environments.
of them,
You've only been to 2 parks in general, or 2 parks for playoffs?
2 parks in general.
Really?
I've only been to Wrigley and Busch. I want to go to Boston. I want to go to the Green Monster and see that. Like that's the one that I'd love to go to in environment wise.
We did a tour of it, but the Red Sox were playing, so I've never been.
I don't think I would survive in Philadelphia for a playoff game. They're rough there, man. So I think I'd rather go Boston. That would be the one I'd like to see playoff atmosphere.
Yeah, I think the best ones that you see on television, Philly. He didn't mention Wrigley in there. I don't think.
Sure.
Wrigley looks like it's been a fun time in that series. San Diego,
LA is
by the
awesome.
way. LA too. San Diego for sure.
That's the one that I was going to mention. San Diego would be mine that I would say is number 1 on the list of like, if I had an opportunity, all expenses paid, you get to go to a place for like a 5-game series, the NLDS, whatever it may be. That would be the one that I would probably choose, is to go out there, spend some time around the park. That area has been really built up in a significant way. San Diego rocks. It's one of my favorite cities to visit in general. I love Mexican food, and it's amazing there. So San Diego would definitely be my spot.
My number 1, if I can only do one, would actually be Toronto. When Toronto has a good team like they do this year and they're in the playoffs, that place gets loud in Rogers Center.
No matter what.
That would be my number 1 choice.
No matter what, when a team in Toronto is good, that crowd backs it up significantly.
No doubt. All right, 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line from Mahomes Longbody. Alex, I thought Mayu was expected to be on the power play. Do you think he gets any of that time this season?
No, not right away. I think if they falter, then maybe you experiment with it. But they've got Falk, and Falk is just a power play guy. I think they're going to use more of Mayu on the penalty kill. He's probably second on that list after Falk because I think they'd try Broberg on that power play before they would try Mayu. At some point, your power play units are going to be Broberg and Mayu or Fowler and Mayu, and Broberg will be more of like a Parayko where he does everything else.
Yeah, if they do it, I think it would be more in the middle of the year, and you end up where it is just the power play isn't clicking for some reason. It's stale, as you had kind of mentioned, or it's too predictable, as you mentioned earlier. I think he'll get some power play time this year, but I think it will be like they go through a 10-game stretch where it's like, man, we've got to do something to the power play.
I think long-term, he will be one of your top power play quarterbacks for the team.
In 15 minutes, we're going to dive into some NFL quick hitters. But next, I was listening to a podcast with Chaim Bloom earlier today. It was with Chip and Brad. They had him on for about an hour. And one of the comments from Chaim Bloom, it left me thinking, man, motivation might be exactly what this organization had been missing in that specific role. I'll tell you what I mean by that. Let you hear the piece that got me feeling that way next year on 101 ESPN. Alongside Alex Ferrario and Tanner Hendrickson, I'm Brandon Kiley. So I was listening to another podcast that Chaim Bloom did over the last couple of days. This one was with Chip and BT. It's over on the Cardinals YouTube page right now, so anybody can access this. I thought it was a great conversation for about an hour, and I think you learn a little bit about the mindset.
Hour?
It's about an hour.
Hot damn.
Chaim Bloom did a lot of media availability.
So he did
the
have
other
like
day.
four. So again, we had like 4 press conferences.
Basically, yeah. So he did
Smart.
the hour-long conversation with Chip and BT. He did a 30-minute conversation that I listened to yesterday with John Rooney. He was in with the writers for about an hour. He did the full press conference for about 30 minutes. They had said, hey, he's got this entire day booked out to be basically media obligations.
Good on him.
And sometimes they say that and they don't actually mean it. Credit where it's due. Chaim Bloom apparently did a full day's worth of media. The expectation, by the way, the hope, belief, is that at some point next week he might be joining us in studio. So it seems like the access might be okay here with Chaim Bloom. Fingers crossed it continues to be that way. One of the things that he said about during this conversation, though, Alex, really struck my ears, and it did so in part because of the backdrop of something that Katie Wu reported earlier today. I want to take a listen first to this clip, and I'll tell you how I think it could apply to the Cardinals as they continue through this rebuild. Take a listen. This is Chaim Bloom on the Chip and BT podcast from the Cardinals YouTube page.
You know, I have not yet experienced this place, Busch Stadium, when it's full, when it's rocking. But I know what that type of feeling feels like, and I know what it feels like to have contributed to that, to feel the adrenaline, the ups and downs of having something on the line every day. That's one of the reasons why a lot of us who do this, we like to compete. You know, sometimes you wonder, there's probably a little bit of masochism that goes into that because it's, you know, there are experiences we all have in the game where you're like, man, this is no way to live. But it's fun to put something on the line every day and to have that skin in the game, and then to know that if it works, it's going to matter that much to all those people to be able to compete for that trophy, for that parade, for that chance to really just kind of make history for everybody who cares about this organization across so many states, really across the whole country. Anywhere you go, there are Cardinals fans. You'll find Cardinals fans everywhere. What a cool thing. What a cool thing to be able to do.
So, Alex, I think that motivation and him trying to build something here and to get that feeling, that gratitude, I think there's something to that. And I do wonder sometimes when you're in a role like John Mozeliak was for as long as he was here in St. Louis. This is not a shot, I promise you, at John Mozeliak. I think sometimes the carrot that exists there, it's just not quite the same motivation as it once was. And sometimes instead of the carrot, it's more the stick that you're worried about, well, what about the job security? And eventually, what if you lose both? Where Mo didn't worry about the job security because he knows I'm safe. Like, I've got a great relationship with the ownership. I've been here for 17 years. It doesn't really matter what happens more often than not. Like, I'm going to be safe. And then you see the carrot that exists, which is the ultimate prize. And you're like, yeah, we'd like to get there. But really, it's about like trying to get into the tournament every year. And then you see what happens. And so you almost aim for the middle because of that. I don't know if this is ultimately going to be as big of a deal as what I'm probably making it out to be right now. But when I heard Chaim in this conversation, and then I see this quote from Katie Wu's story earlier today, I was thinking to myself, I wonder if there is a little bit more giddy up in the step of the Cardinals president of baseball operations today than there was a week ago. Take a listen to this. This is Katie Wu's reporting earlier today over at The Athletic. According to multiple team sources, ownership is prepared to continue investing in areas this offseason, along with the scouting department and professional and international levels. Ownership is also more agreeable to including additional money in trades to ensure better return as a product. Those sources say that the club had vehemently been opposed to doing so in the past. This feels like one of those scenarios, and this is now me speculating, one of those scenarios where, Alex, how long have you been married?
Almost 10 years.
There are certain things that you don't argue today that you did 10 years ago, I would guess. Or 10 years ago, you maybe are like, you know what? This is a battle that I'm willing to fight. And 10 years later, you say to yourself, not worth fighting that battle. I know how it's going to go. It's not even worth me trying any longer.
When you have 3 kids, you fight those battles.
That's basically the relationship, I would imagine, that Mo and the DeWitts had.
Yeah.
Where at a certain point in time, you say, not even worth fighting. And I wonder if the Arenado money situation and including more money in that deal, maybe that was one of those battles that Mo was like, you know what, just not worth it. Not worth trying to fight this battle. I've got other stuff that I'll worry about. I've got 1 year left on the job. Whatever. This will be something that Chaim can deal with. Meanwhile, Chaim's like, no, this is something we have to do. If you do not include more money, we will not be able to remove him from the team. And that has to be priority number 1, 2, and 3, as Mo said last offseason, for the Cardinals this year. So I do think there's something to that. And as you put that in tandem with what you just heard there from Chaim Bloom, I think those motivations go together. And my hope is Cardinals will feel that in the offseason. And you'll start to feel that over the next few years. It will feel as though the Cardinals are more... It's a more refreshing product to watch. You feel rejuvenation.
Almost more urgent, kind of.
Yes, urgency is a great word to use for it. So that's what I felt as I was listening to Chaim Bloom and as I saw this report from Katie Wu. Did it hit you guys the same way, or is this me being overly excited?
I mean, I think it's you being overly excited, which isn't a bad thing, because I think there's a lot of people that have that overly excited. Again, I'm in the camp of you've been beaten down so much that it's like, man, it's hard to get excited. I'm glad he's motivated, and I think that only benefits the Cardinals that he's motivated, because more motivation means you're more aggressive in the trade market, more aggressive in the free agent market. Going back to the Mo comment, I think the problem with Mo was you're also bosses continue to tell you no. So you're right. Like, there's battles that are not worth fighting. I don't even try it. But imagine being Mo, where you just get beat down year after year after year, where you want to improve the team, but what you want to do can't happen. That would be my concern for Chaim. This is motivated now, and I'm glad the ownership's saying what they're saying. What's that look like in 3 years when people still aren't coming out to the games and you want to go get that top free agent? So you need to be motivated. Like, if this was just another president of baseball operations that was stepping in and saying, oh, I've had success elsewhere and I want to get here. I think the key comment that he had with Chip and BT is he hasn't experienced this yet. Like, he hasn't experienced the playoff atmosphere. And for a guy that had already been jaded, or a player or a manager who is taking over who has won a World Series, this is just another job to them. Chaim sees this as like a challenge. It wasn't as successful in Boston, wasn't successful in Tampa. This is my opportunity to make my name known.
And if we're being real, he's never experienced that, because even with all the success that they had in Tampa Bay, that's not a place that gets rocking down at the Trop. And then in Boston, he started out with a COVID season, so you never experienced Boston at its peak there. And then the first thing that he does is trade Mookie Betts, and they just...
Yeah, so you're always hated.
Weren't all that great while he was there. They had 1 year where it was relatively successful, but overall was not the excitement level that you now feel surrounding the Boston Red Sox, or that you did feel early in the 2000s with the Boston Red Sox. So it is different there as well. This is his first real chance to build something in a historically significant market for Major League Baseball. Dude, there's a lot of motivation there. If you are somebody that gives a you-know-what about what you do, you can't ask for a whole lot more. Like, the ceiling for what it could be here in St. Louis is as great as it is in just about every market other than like 4 others across the country. And in those 4 other markets, like, you look at Boston, you look at New York, Philly, I'm not even 100% positive in those markets you're number 1. In this market, you are. This is the story in town. If the St. Louis Cardinals are good, it matters here on a baseball side of things more than probably any other historically important market in all of Major League Baseball, because you don't have football here, right? Like, in New York, you've got the Giants, you've got the Jets. In Philly, you've got the Eagles. In Boston, you've got the Patriots. You've got other stuff that you're competing with. You've got the Blues here, don't get me wrong, and the Blues matter. I'm not trying to diminish anything about that, but Cardinals are the number 1 story in town, and we all know that.
Yeah, and I like the comments from Chaim Bloom, because I would like to think that that's what all 30 president of baseball operations or the GM should be thinking, right? Having a little sense of urgency to go out and win, and not as worried about mostly just balancing the checkbook of the owner. So I like what I'm hearing from Chaim Bloom there. I don't read too much into it, because it is more actions that will determine that than anything else. But I do think there is something to, like, the Mozeliak thing that you were saying of, hey, man, he maybe just didn't want to fight that battle. You know, as time started to go along, he probably didn't want to just deal with that, and just would assume that the answer from ownership would be no. You know, so I get that. And then it was also the thing that was one of my concerns for coming into last season was how motivated was he to do really anything when it's his final year, right? if you were retiring at the end of December, how much motivation would you really have to come to work that day? Not a whole lot, right? Like, you go through the motions, and that's kind of what the season felt like for the Cardinals, was a lot of going through the motions. And as much as we want to talk about winning and showing urgency, you know where that starts? It starts with ownership and your president of baseball operations, and then it trickles down onto the field, right? To building the roster out and making creative moves. I like what we hear from Chaim, because it does sound like there is a little bit of urgency to figure this out. And I think he knows, hey, I've only got a limited amount of grace period here in St. Louis to really make sure that I can sell people on what my vision's going to be.
How long do you think that is?
It should be 3 years.
Like 3 years starting next season? So like starting in 2026,
No, 3 years from this
26,
past
27,
year.
28. Or
3
you're
years.
including this as like year 0.
I'm including this one as year 0. But it should be 3 years. And I know it won't be, because, and this isn't a shot, Cardinals fans are impatient. They want to see success. That's a good thing. But this is going to be, unless he pulls off a couple of just master classes in terms of trades or free agent signings, that he just finds these guys that become unbelievable talent, this might take a few years, because even with the Weatherholts and Doyles, you still got to get that transition and your feet under you in the major league level. I think it should be 3 years before you start to really look at them and say, you need to start showing me results of being a successful team.
I think it's 2. I think it's this upcoming year is like, all right, we're going to give you this year. This year, 2025, the season that we just witnessed, that's the first year where it's like, all right, you were part of the organization. And he has mentioned this a number of times. He's not coming in from like the ground level where he has to introduce himself to everybody. He has to learn where the bathrooms are, all that different stuff, right? He understands the ins and outs of the organization. He's already staffed some of the organization himself. So next year, you should hit the ground running for the most part. And you have an offseason where you get to make some significant changes to the organization. And next year, if you don't have a ton of success at the big league level, I think people will be understanding of that. After that, I think you should start to try to win again. Like starting in 2027, it should be all right, we had a couple of transition years. We've got J.J. Weatherholt up at the big league level. Liam Doyle is up at the big league level. Next year's first round selection at that point in time shouldn't be all that far away, because you got another top 10 pick. At that point in time, you've got 3 former top 10 picks. You've got a bunch of prospects that were able to come through your system as well. You've had multiple years of drafts overall that have been able to develop through your pipeline. Your development system should be in place. By year 3, I think we should start seeing results of what the Chaim Bloom era looks like. That doesn't mean you have to be a championship contender, but man, you look across Major League Baseball, there are a lot of teams that it didn't take 5 to 7 years before they got good again.
Yeah, I agree. I think 2 years, because I think by 2028, I agree, it's not a championship contender. You should have some playoff aspirations by 2028.
Oh, yeah.
Because I look at that, and I agree with what you said. It really comes down to the fact that they've had 2 top 10 picks here recently of J.J. Weatherholt and Liam Doyle. Both those guys should be up at the big league level and have experience at the big league level, which is most important by the time you get to 2028. I think he's got 2 years. I think you can look at 2 years and say, okay, we'll give him a little bit of grace period. We'll see him kind of churn through the roster this offseason. Next year, we'll see what kind of creative moves he decides to do. It just kind of depends on how things lay out. 2028, you should be able to push for like 85 wins, which should be decent enough to get you a chance to be in the playoff picture again.
He's T-Bone, that's Alex on BK. NFL Quick Hitters is next here on 101 ESPN. Hey, it's BK. It's time to unlock your inner champion. The place to do so is with Victory Men's Health. Check them out today. They're online at victorymenshealth.com. And when you get over there, you can read all about what they have to unlock your inner champion. Whether it's erectile dysfunction, weight loss goals that you're trying to meet, you want to learn more about their vitamin infusion program, their supplement shop, red light therapy, cardiovascular testing. It's all over there for you at victorymenshealth.com. The other thing they can do is check those testosterone levels for you. If you feel like maybe you're getting a little lower, you don't have the same energy that you used to, your workouts aren't giving you the same results as they once did, they can check your levels at Victory Men's Health and let you know where you're at, and then they can put together a plan in place for you at Victory Men's Health to unlock that inner champion. The way to book that first appointment, it's super easy. Go over to victorymenshealth.com. top right corner of the page, you'll see the Book Now tab. Click on that and then put in your name, email, phone number. Tell them BK with 101 ESPN sent you, and tell them what it means for you to unlock your inner champion. You can do it all today at Victory Men's Health and online at victorymenshealth.com. Update for the San Francisco 49ers. Their offense is going to be without Brock Purdy, Jawan Jennings, Ricky Pearsall, George Kittle, and Brandon Ayuk tonight against the LA Rams. Whoo, boy.
Should have took the Rams in my survivor pick.
Rams are now an 8.5-point favorite against the San Francisco 49ers on Thursday Night Football tonight. I was excited about this game. This has no juice at this point.
No.
Mac Jones and Christian McCaffrey. If you've got Underdog app, Christian McCaffrey, rushing attempts and or targets, take the higher on either of those two things. I feel like you're in a pretty good spot for tonight. I don't know who else they're giving the ball to.
Yeah. I would also probably go for like a Jared Verse sack or something like that, because they're not going to. Mac Jones isn't going to have a whole lot of success finding guys downfield.
Boy. Kendrick Bourne is probably their number one receiver tonight.
Isn't Sky Moore like? I think I saw somewhere Sky Moore
top
was like
three guy for them right now.
Ooh.
He's been terrible.
Fantasy football-wise, you either need to have the 49ers with McCaffrey or just sit everyone else. Because that's just not pretty at all.
I don't know what their total's at, but I would still take the under on the team total for the 49ers tonight.
The point total overall is 43.5 for the game.
Tonight is a fantasy football watch. If you got a fantasy player on the Rams, that's why you're watching. Yeah. Otherwise, it's not appointment television like it should be when the Rams and 49ers play.
Tonight's a baseball night for me.
I'll
be watching the baseball
game.
game.
For the Rams, baby.
Over this?
No, over Blues preseason action, which you can hear right here on 101 ESPN.
I said watch. I'll be listening to the Blues preseason action on 101 ESPN. Yeah. I'll be watching the baseball game over on ESPN.
Yeah.
Way to go, man.
Save.
John, Tommy, did you hear that?
That's right.
That's a loyal.
And you should be doing the same.
I'm going to be there, man.
Not you, the general you.
I'm going to be watching it live.
I was like, yeah, Alex, he's not going to sit and watch. He's just going to go in his corner and listen to it.
Literally corner that I sit in.
Have you all been paying attention to the A.J. Brown situation that's taking place?
I thought it cooled down, so I guess no.
Yeah, no, I was saying I've kind of checked out of it because this is what seems to happen.
So
Did this happen last year?
Yeah, it always happens.
Good.
After the game on Sunday, A.J. Brown posted on social media a quote from the Bible saying, "If you're not welcomed, not listened to, quietly withdraw, don't make a scene, shrug your shoulders, and be on your way."
Isn't putting that post out making a scene?
Yep,
Okay,
a little
cool.
bit.
That's ironic.
He then chose not to speak with the media following the victory. By the way, they won. They won on Sunday. They won 31-25 on Sunday against the Bucs, but they did not complete a pass in the second half of that game.
Selfish.
Not a great way to go. He also posted after the Super Bowl about how, like, he gave it a couple of days, kind of similar to the Kevin Durant thing with the Golden State Warriors, where he's like, man, it didn't really fulfill me the way that I thought it would. And he talked about how what fulfills him and is going out there and dominating, right? Like he goes out there and he performs every Sunday. That's what gives him fulfillment. The actual team accomplishment of winning the Super Bowl didn't fulfill him the way that he thought it would. And that's actually pretty common. I think I hear that a lot from guys that have reached that. And Alex, I cannot possibly compare what I do, what we do, to a professional athlete winning at the highest possible level.
You like coming on here and dominating individually, and you don't like what happens with the team?
You know damn well how competitive I am in this industry.
I heard that other segment. You talked for like 8 minutes.
6.5. I looked up. I was like, oh, my God.
Jesus.
It was way too long.
It's probably helping my breathing get back intact.
The reason I bring it up, Alex, is because, like, I had an opportunity to chase my dreams in Kansas City. It's all I had ever wanted to do. I just wanted to be an afternoon host in Kansas City for as long as I could remember. And then I was offered an opportunity to be the midday host. And, like, it meant nothing to me because I was potentially going to have to do it without Kara there with me. It's like your priorities in life shift, right? Things change for you. And the things that you think will give you fulfillment sometimes don't. And so I can empathize with where A.J. Brown's coming for, but what did you make of his outcry after the weekend and how it seems like he's kind of miserable in Philadelphia despite playing for one of the best teams in the NFL?
I mean, I totally understand what he's talking about. I mean, we've all had that moment in life to where the priorities are just different than what you originally thought. That's not the way to make teams want you, though. Like, as much as you like dominating, that's great. You want to dominate in a game where your team continues to lose? Me personally,
what if he wants both? What if he wants to be able to put up big numbers and win?
Well, yeah, sure, but how often does that happen? I mean, it doesn't sound like he's the greatest teammate out there if he's not getting those passes. I mean, this sounds an awful like what Stephon Diggs was like. And where did Stephon Diggs go? Went from Minnesota to Buffalo, got upset in Buffalo, and then where?
Yeah, I hear you. I do kind of get where he's coming from, though. It sucks being on a team. Like, the Eagles are winning a ton. It has to be a pretty rough life right now as a receiver on that team. Because you want to be part of the reason that your team is winning, and he's a glorified tight end right now. Mm-hmm. On the season, he has 14 receptions. They've played 4 games. He's one of the best receivers in the NFL. He's highly compensated for doing so. He has 150 yards in 4 games. That's not A.J. Brown numbers, man. That's not the kind of impact that he expects to have on the roster. So I get it.
I mean, I get it. Teams don't want those types of guys on their team. I mean, they want guys that will dominate, yes, but as soon as they start complaining about how I didn't get enough passes in this game, I mean, that already disrupts the chemistry of what you're looking for. So, I mean, I totally understand where he's coming from, but I don't think that's going to bode well for his future if you have that mindset.
Problem is with his deal, it's like hard to get out of right now. And even next year, it's hard to get out of. Like, I think he's stuck in Philly. I think they figure this out now.
I agree.
I don't think like he's going to be happy all the time because like when they get to the playoffs, they might go back to this kind of formula that helps them win. Like I've been debating, he's on one of my fantasy teams. My expectation is he's going to have a huge game this week. They're not going to just let him make this quote, bring attention to it, and then like, hey, we're going to run the ball with Saquon. Sorry, AJ. No, dude, AJ's probably having a huge week this week. I expect the Philadelphia Eagles, they're smart enough. They'll get him the ball a little bit more, make him a little bit happier. And then when they go to the playoffs, they might forget that because then it becomes more about, hey, what do we need to do as a team to win football games?
It's an interesting spot to be in as an organization when you have such a highly paid player that you obviously value and you can't utilize him in part because, like, I love Jalen Hurts. I think that guy is a proven winner at the NFL level. He does have some deficiencies when it comes to his passing, and they also have a very specific game plan as to how they go about their winning. And it has a trickle-down effect of making receivers mad and being A.J. Brown is probably not the most enjoyable experience. The other thing that I wanted to get to today, Alex, a big story in the NFL yesterday. Did you see this situation with Shedeur Sanders?
Yeah.
So, some context. I think it's important to have this context. Rex Ryan went on Get Up the other day, and this is coming out of Shedeur having some kind of comments over the weekend or whatever. And he says, Shedeur Sanders needs to shut up. He needs to stop talking. Any other third-string quarterback in the NFL, you never hear from them. He just needs to put his head down and get back to work. He needs to shut his mouth. And so I think that's important context to yesterday. Shedeur Sanders was doing his interview with the media, and he was asked a few questions, and instead of actually answering them with a voice, he mouthed things but did not actually say anything verbally. So he shut his mouth. He was quiet during the interviews. I think he thought he was being funny. I think it came off as, generally speaking, pretty childish and pretty
people
immature.
didn't have the context.
Well, and because I do think it is childish and immature to like take something that Rex Ryan was saying on Get Up. You shouldn't care about that stuff. It doesn't matter, man. Just do your job. Go out there and do your job. Continue working and whatever. If you're asked questions, answer them. What did you guys make of the whole situation, though? That's my opinion on it. I think it was childish and immature.
Mine was the same as yours. I think it was immature and honestly disrespectful. Now, I don't know what happened when the cameras went off. Did he say something to the people as they walked away and, hey, sorry, this was, I was trying to make a point. Regardless, man, like that was a rookie move of a guy who isn't mature enough yet. And I mean, I'm sure people are going to laugh about it later on and forget about it, but it's not the mindset you want to have when you're trying to be the number one quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. Like if you act that way, if I'm a coach, it's like, oh, okay, well, he's got some growing up to do before we can get to the point where we think he's ready to take over a team and lead. Like it's not like this was a wide receiver doing this. You're the quarterback. You're trying to be the quarterback that is the leader of your team. And that's the mindset you're going to have. That's not the greatest.
Yeah, not great from Shedeur Sanders, because though I disagree, like Rex Ryan told him to shut up, you speak to the media, right? Media wants to talk to you, you speak to the media. Yeah. But what you don't do as the third string quarterback is bring attention to yourself, right? You get asked questions, you do what the PR training tells you to do, right? They ask you a question, well, I'm just putting my head down, I'm going to work, I'm trying to win the job from Dylan Gabriel and Joe Flacco, right? Like that's your answer. It's not just mouthing words or trying to like really pump yourself up to the media. No, you don't do that, because what teams won't deal with, you mentioned like teams don't like the A.J. Browns that are complaining. They'll deal with the A.J. Browns because A.J. Brown's a stud. Yep. They will not deal with the third string quarterback that is a fringe 53-man roster guy. That's what happened when Tim Tebow, not because Tim Tebow did it by saying things, right? But when the Jets would bring him in, they had to get rid of him because we don't need this kind of coverage around our third string or backup quarterback.
Yeah, this is part of the problem. And it's not exclusively his own doing. Some of this is the media hype that surrounds him, right? Like we're talking about it right now. Somebody else on the text line asked, why is a third or fourth string quarterback even being interviewed? Because he's a story. Mm-hmm. And when you're in the media in Cleveland, one of the things that your job is to cover the story. And Shedeur Sanders is a story nationally right now, much less locally. So, yeah, of course they're going to talk to him. Somebody else said, honestly, I thought it was kind of hilarious. There is a piece of this that I thought was pretty funny. Of him like, hey, national analyst says I need to shut up. Here, I'll go ahead and shut my mouth. Also, that's really immature. Like, both things can be true.
If you can't handle people saying things about you as a third string quarterback, what's going to happen when people are talking bad about you when you can't play the game as a number one?
No doubt.
Like, that's my thought process if I'm a team. But also the Cleveland Browns have to know, like, you did this. You drafted Shedeur Sanders and Dylan Gabriel. You did this to yourselves. So there was going to be this type of media circus around, but it tells you exactly what you got in a player when you act this way for something like that.
In 15 minutes, we'll dive into the junk drawer, but coming up next, Alex made a comparison to Dylan Holloway the other day that I heard, and I was like, oh, I'd be interested in that. We'll talk about it next here on 101 ESPN.
Tanner Hendrickson here with a Sports Center update driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. Dodgers beat the Reds last night, completing their sweep over Cincinnati 2-0 in the National League wildcard round as they advance to the NLDS, where they'll take on the Philadelphia Phillies. But 3 of the 4 wildcard games go to a Game 3 today, starting at 2 o'clock when the Guardians take on the Tigers, then 4 o'clock for Cubs versus Padres, and 7 o'clock for Yankees versus Red Sox. And tonight here on 101 ESPN, Blues back in action as they've got preseason action against the Ottawa Senators. We'll have pregame coverage starting at 6 o'clock with Alex Ferrario and puck drop at 7 o'clock with the voice of Blues, Chris Kerber, and Joey Vitale. This portion of our update was driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. See him at Londoff.com. Chevy, together we drive. Are you kidding me?
I'm ready to believe some outlandish statements when it comes to Dylan Holloway. Everything that we've seen from him early on this year, Alex, it looks like he took the progress that he made last year with the St. Louis Blues, and he's just an even better version of that player. Last year, 26 goals, 63 points in 77 games before that brutal injury. And you said
versus the Dallas Stars on Tuesday when he scored 2 goals. And Dylan Holloway just dominates everywhere of the ice. Defensively, offensively, he played a little penalty kill. You know he's on the power play. The shot is where I went to Kyle Connor, though, because I think Kyle Connor is one of the better all-around players. Not as sound defensively. He has his moments, but he's just elite in the offensive zone. He's big. He's fast. He could play. That guy could score 40 goals in the NHL. And if you look at Kyle Connor's career, started off, his really first full season, he was a 30-goal scorer, which in Dylan Holloway's case would have been, I guess, technically his second full season. If he wouldn't have gotten injured, that was a 30-goal scorer. But you look at Dylan Holloway and you say, okay, well, this guy not only can score, he can put up goals. So if this guy, let's say, is a 35-goal scorer, the way I see Kyle Connor is he meshed so well once he and Mark Scheifele played together. They made that 1-2 punch to where it was like you got your elite center, your elite winger, and they're dynamic everywhere they go on the ice. That's where I feel like Dylan Holloway can really excel. If his shot continues to grow, the speed, he's already one of the fastest players on the team, and he's so good as a two-way player, he's going to generate the amount of offensive space when he's in the zone the same way that Kyle Connor does. So I watch Dylan Holloway and I say he is going to be the guy that comes out of nowhere and it's like, whoa, this guy's a superstar. And that's what I think Dylan Holloway is. And it's why I compared it to Kyle Connor, because at the time, if you look at the Jets when he first bursted onto the scene, Kyle Connor was the 17th overall pick. They had high expectations. His first year, though, he scored 2 goals and wasn't great defensively. The next year, he started to improve. But this was a guy in a lineup with Scheifele and Brian Little and Patrick Laine and all of these other studs that were supposed to be expected to be stars. And Kyle Connor just basically said, I'm the star instead. So I think Holloway's got the Kyle Connor impact on the Blues.
All right. So, again, I'm willing to say outlandish things about Dylan Holloway at this point.
Are you going to one-up me and say he's the Wayne Gretzky?
No. I just want to go through. So The Athletic put out their player tiers within the last month or so. I want to go through and talk about where we think he could fit in. Not where he does right now, but where he could fit in if he ends up having the kind of season that we all... T-Bone, are you with us? You're ready to talk about him having a better season than he did a year ago, right?
Yeah.
I don't think we're ready to have him in the MVP tier with McDavid, Draisaitl, McKinnon, McCarr, Barkov, Kucherov, Quinn Hughes, Austin Matthews, Kirill Kaprizov, David Pastrnak. We're not there, correct?
Yeah, I'm not insane.
Agreed.
Okay. The second tier is a franchise caliber player. Top 30 players in the NHL, according to The Athletic. Some of the forwards that they have in this range are Sidney Crosby, Jack Eichel, Jack Hughes, Matthew Tkachuk, Mitch Marner, Braden Point, Mikko Rantanen, Sebastian Aho, Nico Hischier, William Nylander, Artemi Panarin, Sam Reinhart. Those are the forwards in that group. Do you think he could fit into that category?
I'd put him in that category. If you're putting Sebastian Aho in that category, who is the top centerman for the Carolina Hurricanes, Aho at his best was an 89-point performer in 78 games. But other than that, he's a guy that floats around 75 to 79 points. I mean, that's Dylan Holloway. And Aho has scored 38 goals in the NHL. I think Holloway can score 40 goals in the NHL.
Aho's also center. There's more value and some what he's doing defensively, but just wanted to throw that out there.
And the centerman is probably what puts him in that one. But I personally think, like, if you've got a winger that can do everything, now he's not Mikko Rantanen territory. I don't think he's scoring 50 plus. But if you're going to put a winger in the category who's already been labeled by the president of hockey operations, it's the hardest worker on the team, and you're going to put him in there to where he's playing every aspect of the game and he's making an impact. If Aho's there, I'd have Dylan Holloway there.
Because these guys are the next tier. Matt Boldy, Jake Gensel, Brandon Hagel, Seth Jarvis, Jason Robertson, Nick Suzuki, Tim Stutzel, Robert Thomas is in this category. Brady Tkachuk is also in that category. I would probably have him a little higher, but neither here nor there. Macklin Celebrini, Kyle Connor. And then Clayton Keller, Dylan Larkin, some of the other names that you'd expect.
Yeah. And I mean, honestly, I would probably put Kyle Connor in the franchise category, mostly because think of the Winnipeg Jets if Kyle Connor doesn't re-sign a contract.
My personal feeling as I look at these names, Alex, you can tell me if you disagree with this. I think the names that I just mentioned, they've all got a flaw somewhere, even with Robert Thomas. Robert Thomas is a very good hockey player. I'm not trying to diminish who he is. However, if he has one quote-unquote wart, it's his lack of shooting. It's not that he has a bad shot. He just doesn't do it very often. And so he's not as big of a threat in that area. What I love about watching Dylan Holloway, I don't know what that thing is. He's a good defender. He has great speed. He has an excellent shot, and he's not afraid to shoot it. He also drives play as a winger in a way that very few wingers do. I mean, he created for Kyrou the other night in that preseason game as much as Kyrou created for him. And, like, he's getting the best out of Jordan Kyrou, and that's as a winger. That is a pretty rare thing to be able to accomplish. So he's got every attribute you could look for. He's also got decent size. He's like 6'1", 200-plus pounds. He can play with some physicality. He's tough on pucks. And so that's why I think he does have the ceiling to be in that franchise tier. I don't know that he has the same limitations as some of these guys like a Jake Gensel or some of these that are in that category have in the third tier of the player rankings over on The Athletic.
Yeah, I mean...
So this guy is the one that you're building around.
Yeah.
As much as you're building around Thomas, I think Dylan Holloway is the second in line in that regard. And you could make an argument for number one, given age and all of these things that we were saying about
Dylan
him.
Holloway is going to be what people thought Jordan Kyrou is. Kyrou's got the flaw. Kyrou's the 35-plus goal scorer every single year, but his flaw is defensively. Now, he's made improvements, but he's still not a guy I'm relying on late in a game. Dylan Holloway is a guy that I'll put out there late in the game when I'm up by one and I need to hold on, or I'm down by one and I need him out on the ice. It really comes with growth of Dylan Holloway, though, because right now is not the finished product of what Dylan Holloway is going to look like. But when I think of Dylan Holloway, I think of a guy that takes the lineup to the next level. And every aspect of his game is what makes the Blues better. It's why personally, and I know he and Kyrou are meshing really well together, and it's a chemistry that people are excited about, I personally would love to see Holloway play with Thomas and Snuggerud as a top-line winger. Because I think if we're talking about a guy who could score 40 goals, Dylan Holloway is that if you're playing with Robert Thomas. Not taking anything away from Suter or Shen. I think that's still going to be successful because Holloway's the engine that runs that team. But, man, I mean, you look at what Kyle Connor was once he found that centerman. I think Holloway is that guy that when you find that centerman, it's what Tarasenko was for the longest year. They couldn't find a centerman for him. They had everything else. They needed the centerman. It wasn't Backus. It wasn't Berglund. They finally went and got Paul Stastny, and then you saw Braden Shen.
Maybe your Paul Stastny is, for this team, Pius Suter.
Could be.
You know, maybe he's the guy that can get a little bit more offensively out of that second line. Seems to be what they're betting on right now. I'd also add, you know, we've talked about this before. Really good teams have great second-line players. Matthew Tkachuk is a second-line player for the Florida Panthers. He is a guy that consistently is playing not the top line minutes. He's like 18 minutes a night for the Florida Panthers. Meanwhile, the Blues top line is closer to like 20. I would like to see him getting, and you mentioned this earlier today, those top power play minutes. I think that's a place where you could see a spike in his time on the ice. But overall, I'm cool with him being on the second line. I've got no issues with it because the other thing that allows you to do, it puts him into the most advantageous matchups possible when you're on home ice in particular. So I'm good with that, but man, Dylan Holloway, my favorite player to watch right now on the St. Louis Blues, and I think he's in for a monster season. 35-plus goals, 75 plus points, all around performer, like what prime Pavel Buchnevich was, but with a little bit more speed.
Yeah.
And if you could bring that to the table, you're a potential $10 million player in the NHL right now.
Yeah, which he should get if that's the type of player he is, because that's what's going to make this team stay in that consistent winning window. And I mean, that's why they're out of this retool that they've talked about. It's because of Dylan Holloway and really Philip Broberg, because we're not talking as much about him as Holloway, but Broberg already looks like a number one defenseman, and that's the move that they pulled off that gave the Blues this ceiling.
Coming up in about 10 minutes, Lane Kiffin had some interesting comments about why we will not see legitimate dynasties in the SEC any longer. We'll discuss that coming up in about 10 minutes. The Junk Drawer is coming up next year on 101 ESPN.
Tanner Hendrickson here to tell you about my friends at DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app, which is coming soon here to the Show Me State. As new Missouri customers can download that DraftKings Sportsbook app today, and when we go live, place just a $5 bet to unlock $300 in bonus bets. And starting on November 17th, you can create your DraftKings Sportsbook account in Missouri and get ready for launch day on December 1st. DraftKings Sportsbook brings everything you need to elevate your game day, including live in-game betting, lightning fast payouts, and endless ways to get in on the action, all right from your phone. And when we go live here in Missouri, you'll be betting with the Sportsbook app trusted by millions. Safe, secure, and has fast money withdrawals. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and grab $300 in bonus bets with just a $5 bet when we go live December 1st in partnership with DraftKings Sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 plus. Physically present in Missouri. Eligibility restrictions apply. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. Excludes customers who redeem pre-launch sign-up offer terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos.
All right, let's dive into the junk drawer alongside Alex and T-Bone on BK. Alex, you go over to Aldi a decent amount, right?
Yeah, that's
Do you get annoyed with the quarter that you have to put in for the shopping cart?
I only get annoyed when I forget it. But most of the time, I mean, I understand it because I get annoyed with the people at like Schnucks that refuse to put the carts back where you got it from. Like those people are the bane of my existence. You're evil when you do that. You can't take 5 more steps and just put the cart back where you got it from. You're nodding like you're this guy.
No, I just love how angry you get about this sort of
It pisses
stuff.
me off. Like
I agree with you.
I've seen this before where I'm in my car about to pull out, and then some guy walks over, he puts the stuff in his car, and then he just shoves the grocery cart next to him in the parking spot. Like, just turn around and walk it back, man. I got 3 kids and I do it. I'm losing my voice again. Go on with what you're saying.
A woman in, this is Florida, as you can probably imagine.
Of course, everything
All great
happens in
stories
Florida.
start in
No
Florida.
issues necessarily with the typical shopping cart. However, the motorized Publix shopping cart, she was seen driving it down Airport Road in this Florida town. And according to the sheriff's office, they had the cops called because she had stolen it from Publix. She decided, got to get to my medical appointment. And so instead of, walking, calling an Uber, doing whatever, she went over to Publix.
She thought she
took
could get
one
there
of the
with that?
motorized carts, drove down the road, ended up in a gas station parking lot, Circle K, and that's where they found her. They said, "Hey, what are you doing with this cart?" And she said, "Oh, I'm just going to my medical appointment. I'm going to take it back here in just a moment."
Well, she was going to return it.
Her plan was to return it, as Alex has asked, but she was going to drive the few miles in this Publix shopping cart to her medical appointment
awesome.
I don't-
before she got pulled over, eventually arrested, and now she has indeed been arrested with charges of grand theft auto.
Man.
Or grand theft, not auto.
I mean,
technically it is grand theft
an
auto.
I suppose.
I mean, this is something you do in like GTA 6, I guess.
didn't know those things could make it multiple miles.
That's what I wouldn't think it would. I would
'Cause the
think it would run out of
battery
battery.
dies.
She got 1 mile away, according to the story.
How many miles did it say it was away? It didn't say specific.
It doesn't say specifics on how far away her appointment was,
Yeah,
but
probably
my
like
guess
3
is
miles.
more. She didn't make it there, so at least a mile and a half.
My guess is she probably could get there, but wouldn't be able to get all the way back.
Well, she doesn't have to. She'll treat it like everyone else does at the grocery store. Leave the
just
cart
leave
in the
it?
parking lot.
Well, no, because she's got to get home at some point, too.
Well, no, they'll she'll Uber from there. She only had money for an Uber one way.
Mahomes Longbody says, "How do we know she wasn't planning on returning it?" Well, according to her, she was indeed planning to
the
return it.
Cops don't care about that.
Yeah.
You still stole it from the grocery store.
Yeah, it was $2,500. That's why it's considered to be grand theft, because it is a significant.
I'm disappointed that she got caught in a Circle K, not like on the side of the highway. This is dispatch.
I think if you're the cop,
we're in a high-speed chase with I think this is a scooter from whatever the store was.
The local news station sends a helicopter out because they hear high-speed chase, and then they see it like,
Somebody said, "BK, there was a guy driving down Howdershell in Florissant a few weeks ago on a Schnucks cart."
in a Schnucks cart?
I wonder if they were like in the cart, just going down the hill.
Just running behind it and then jumps in and says, I'm going to ride this bad boy home.
Coming up in 15 minutes, we're going to play a game of Believe It or Not. You guys give us a scenario. We will tell
I'm
you
not.
if we are believing it or not here on 101 ESPN. But next, Lane Kiffin says this is going to be the start of the new norm in the SEC. What does he mean by that? We'll tell you next here on 101 ESPN. Alex, I've seen a lot of stuff from Lane Kiffin this week. He seems to be doing the rounds. There's a documentary coming out about Lane Kiffin, the ups and the downs that he's had in his career. I believe that's on Netflix, if I'm not mistaken. I don't recall exactly where it is. I'm totally speaking out of my you-know-what right now. But there's a documentary coming out nonetheless with Lane Kiffin. It features him. So he's doing a lot of media right now, talking to people about a bunch of different things. And he was on ESPN yesterday. And he was asked about, the expansion of conference play and just how we've seen such a significant change in the SEC this year where it feels like everybody has a shot to win the conference. And I thought some of his answers in this interview were really interesting. I wanted to get your guys' thoughts on this. 314-399-9646, by the way, is the Air Comfort Service text line. YouTube chat is often running at youtube.com/101ESPNSTL. Lane Kiffin said the following: "In my opinion, dynasties in the SEC are over. Alabama with Coach Saban, Kirby at Georgia, where they had those rosters year in and year out, where they had a bunch of different wins by 30 or more points in the conference, those days are done. When I was at Alabama, they'd be like, hey, go watch the outside linebackers. And then you look over there, there are 6 of them that are future first-round picks. That's not going to happen anymore because if a player doesn't play, they leave. They can't keep all of those guys the way that they used to be." He then continued, and this part I thought was really interesting as well. He told ESPN, "You're going to have some really good teams that start going 8-4 because you're going to play non-conference teams, including potentially 5 of them on the road. The conference has never been this balanced. It also never used to have Texas or Oklahoma in it, both of whom are top 10 teams and 2 of the hardest places to play in the country." He said his concern for programs and for coaches is that fans aren't going to be able to get used to the numbers that are so different, the wins and the losses. If you're a program that used to be a 9 or a 10 win team and now you're going 7-5 or 8-4, your fans are going to think that the team is terrible and that the coach is suddenly terrible. But the reality is you might have just lost 4 road games that year at Georgia, Florida, LSU, and Alabama. He had more to say beyond that, but basically he's suggesting the bottom of the conference is better than it was before. The top of the conference, the teams can't hoard the same level of talent as they did before. And so everybody kind of gets jumbled into the middle, which makes for great parity. It makes for unbelievable games as we've seen so far this season. Do you agree with the premise of that, though? Starting with the dynasties in the SEC are over. That is a way of the past and not a way of the future, Alex.
Yeah, I do agree with that because the dynasty he's talking about is the Alabama that I grew up with, to where every single time I saw Alabama on a schedule, it's like, cool, that's a loss. Georgia over the last, what would you say, 10 years? 10 years, has been seen on the schedule. Well, that's a loss. Now I don't feel that way in the SEC anymore. Now, there's some teams that I still look at, like when you play Oregon or Penn State this season, it's like, well, that's probably going to be a loss. But I think the transfer portal and just the NIL ability is the reason why that's the case. Like, there's no more of keeping the studs that you've recruited. Like, the one that I thought of when you're reading through that, BK, was the University of Miami. Like 2 years ago, they were a 7-6 team. Then they get Cam Ward through the transfer portal, makes them 10-3, and then they lose Cam Ward, and it's like, well, what are we going to do now? Well, you just go get Carson Beck, and you find a way to stay relevant. So,
but I'll add another piece to that. Do you think they're going to be 10-2 next year?
No.
Because I'm not positive on that.
And unless you go out there and you find another solid piece that you're lacking on your team, I think you could build the infrastructure that makes it close to being a dominant force in college football. But unless you strike gold on the guy that you have to acquire, whether it's the quarterback or some type of defensive end, pass rusher, or a wide receiver, a playmaker, if you don't get the guy, well, then your team is going to be bad. And the schedule changing to what it is, yeah, I agree. I think you're going to be looking at more even schedules rather than those 2 or 3 teams that are undefeated.
I think Georgia's an interesting example of what you're talking about here. And the reason why is because of the hoarding of the talent, which is what Lane Kiffin brought up. Look at Missouri's defensive end room, just as an example. 2 of Missouri's top 3 defensive ends played at Georgia. And in a previous era in college football, they would still be at Georgia. But in the modern era, Darius Smith, who transferred to Mizzou last year, that guy ends up coming to Mizzou for a bigger opportunity, for a bigger paycheck, to be able to go get the playing time that he wasn't able to get when he was at Georgia. Missouri's number 1 defensive end this year is Damon Wilson. That guy transfers to Mizzou for a reason. Opportunity, money, etc. It wasn't there at Georgia. It is there now at Mizzou. Georgia in the past could have injuries over the course of the season, and their backup defensive ends are Damon Wilson and Darius Smith. They're just waiting in the wings. They're ready to go at a moment's notice. Damon Wilson, by the way, is one of the top 5 edge rushers in the country this year in pressure rate. That guy was basically on the bench at Georgia. He's just waiting there, just waiting for his opportunity to be a starter. So that is the biggest difference between what Alabama and Georgia were and what they are today. It's just not the same depth. Their starters are still amazing. Their starters are as good as any starters in the country, maybe the best starters in the country. But once you lose a couple of those guys, which happens in college football, their depth is tested the same way that it is at Mizzou or that as it is at Ole Miss, etc. And if you miss on a quarterback or you miss on a left tackle, you don't have the same insurance policy, which is, yeah, well, that guy didn't work. We've got another 5-star behind him and then another 5-star behind him. So I think that's what's changed. And that is where it does become it's really hard to be a dynasty in 2025. Can you still have teams that rise up, and will it mostly be the same teams year to year? Yes, I do believe that. But the dominance that you have seen for the past 15 plus years in college football, I think it's going to be harder and harder to do that. And I do agree with his premise overall that I don't think we're going to see that kind of dominance again because of how difficult it is to accomplish with NIL and the transfer portal.
Yeah, I still believe that we're going to see a dynasty emerge, and I don't know who that will be. Because I think what has happened is I think you've just seen this kind of blitz of everything happening all at once and it just being such a rapid change that nobody really has found a way to figure out what works best and how to adjust to it for a long-term plan. I do think somebody will figure it out, and I do think somebody will eventually build another dynasty. But where I will be willing to kind of admit towards Lane Kiffin's point, I don't know if it will come from the SEC. I think it might have to come from the Big Ten or maybe the ACC. I would lean more towards the Big Ten.
Is that because of the lack of depth in the conference,
yes,
comparatively speaking?
Because I think you can look at Ohio State. Like we can already, I think it's fair to say over the next 5 years, we know who the 3 best teams in the Big Ten are going to be. It's Ohio State, it is Penn State, and it is Oregon. And I have no question about that. I think that 4 through 6 range will be the one that kind of rotates in and around where you've got maybe Indiana's there for a couple years, Illinois is there for a couple years, and then it falls off and it's replaced by somebody.
USC,
Michigan,
Washington.
USC. I think that's where you see the next dynasty come from, is the Big Ten. I think there is a point to what Lane is saying about the SEC of, man, all the top talent does want to play here. So anyway, that's a top-tier talent from any other conference does want to transfer in if they're not on the Ohio States or the Notre Dames, teams like that. And that's how these rosters stay really competitive and stay very well kind of balanced out across the talent pool in the SEC. I think the Big Ten is where we will see the next dynasty, and I think there's a chance Ryan Day is building it at Ohio State, or we're seeing it come from Oregon right now.
I just think with the playoffs expanding and with the want from a lot of these guys that want to get to the NFL, rather than wait around and be on a team where I'm the backup that gets a shot at some point, I'm going to go to one of those smaller schools, make more money, and then give my team a shot to make it to the college football playoffs, which then helps my draft stock.
Bringing up the playoff is an interesting point there as well, Alex, because the old format also lent itself to more dynasties. So you basically just had one game at the end of the year. You could be Ohio State or Oregon or Penn State, whoever the team is. I would say probably not Penn State, probably one of the other two. But you could be one of those 2 teams. You go 12-0, 11-1 during the regular season, and all you have to do is win one more game. Boom, you're a dynasty. If you do that 3 years in a row, right? Now, you have to do that in the regular season, which has become more difficult than it ever was before because of the expansion of these conferences and now the expansion of conference play with an extra game in conference, especially in the SEC. And then you have to do it again for 3+ games in the playoff, which just makes it that much harder. It just adds to the level of difficulty of continuing on, where if you get somebody hurt in that first game of the playoff, it happens. And now that guy's not available for you in week 2, and you have to overcome that injury, and then you just have to keep doing that over and over again in the postseason. So for a million different reasons, all of these kind of stack on top of each other, it becomes more difficult. So if it's going to happen, T-Bone, you're probably right. It is the Big Ten that it will take place, and maybe the ACC with Miami. Maybe they could be that team that they have a dominant stretch over their conference. I don't think, though, you will see the same reign of terror over college football at large. And that's what took place with Georgia/Bama, and you could throw Clemson into this mix as well over the last 17 to 18 years.
Let me ask you guys this then. Does this mean you don't see as many coaches being fired at the top of the college football teams? Are teams more willing to stick with a coach if you feel like you got the right one, if your team underperforms, because it's like, well, we could turn this around in 1 year.
Opposite. I think there's so much more money that's invested now, which is over the counter instead of under the table. You have so much money that's invested that I think you could even
pull the
see
plug
less time for some of these
like
coaches.
Kalen DeBoer to me is an example to where it's like the first week people were like, oh, this guy's done. And then after a couple, it's like, no, he's fine. Like, I kind of feel like it's so
fine
volatile.
for now. If he loses this weekend, though, we're going to go back to that exact same conversation.
I guess that's true.
I think Bama's just a unique case because they were this team. And I think those are the places where it's harder to adjust. When you have this dominant stretch of time for nearly 2 decades at Alabama, this is the greatest coach of our generation, maybe the greatest coach ever in the history of this sport. And for him to then leave, and you have to deal with not only you've got a new coach who does things differently and who, wears like this polo on the sideline instead of all these different things, right? And so Alabama fans have all of this stuff that they're just picking at constantly. And then he loses more games than you're comfortable with. At the same time that all of college football is changing, that's just a difficult thing for these programs to adjust to. But overall, I agree with Lane Kiffin. I think it's going to be really interesting to see how, even at a place like Missouri, right now the hope/expectation is 8 to 9 wins every year, and then hopefully you have these seasons where everything comes together and you can compete for something really special. That may change soon with the change in the way that they're formatting the schedule and with just overall the SEC getting better. It might be a consistent 7-win team where you have a season in which you get to 9. Those are the great seasons. And I wonder how fans will react to that. I wonder how fans at Tennessee react to the fact that, hey, it's going to be harder than ever before to get to 9, to get to 10 wins. That is something that I find really interesting about all of this.
Yeah,
the shift in the conference schedules.
And I think you're going to see that fans won't really adjust to it. I think you're talking like 10 years before fans adjust to it, because you've talking about the wave of fans of that expectation that you're talking about. It's really not until it's that fan's kids that really take over that, right? That become the fan, that get used to this version of college football, because that's when you start to see that shift. And 10 years might have been a little bit too short of a time period there.
It's almost similar to like a change in cap, a spike in the cap, where you see some of the numbers and it's jarring. You're like, wait, guys make $17 million in the NHL now? Or you look over at the NBA and the 7th guy on a team is making $25 million a year. Somebody that
$60 million quarterback.
Yeah, like this, you look at the numbers and you're just like, when did this happen? It just happens overnight, basically. And that's what college football is now, where it's not the cap numbers, but instead it's a really good team can go 8-4. A really good team in the SEC. And that's going to have to become more of the norm. And then as fans, we adjust accordingly. And for the college football playoff, they have to adjust their expectations as these teams are losing more games. And now you've expanded the playoff. And so now the barrier for entry is lower than ever before. It's going to be an interesting time in college football over the next several years. All right, coming up next, believe it or not, here on 101 ESPN.
Don't pull a Bradford on me. Music loud.
Sing it, Ferrario.
Oh, God, this is going to be bad.
Believe it or not, I'm walking on air. I never thought I could feel so
Free.
Flying away on a wing and a prayer.
Who could it be?
Believe it or not, it's just me.
That one, the second one was better than the first one.
314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line for Believe It or Not. You guys give us a scenario. We will tell you if we are believing it or not here on 101 ESPN. On a scale of 1 to 10, last week was about a 2. That one was like a 7 or an 8.
Oh,
Yeah.
That was good, Alex. You did way better than I was expecting.
My first part.
I can tell.
I can't get that high right now, but the next one was good. I
Maybe
can keep
we
it low.
should just had like music
If you
higher.
keep trying,
when you're
Alex, I
talking
think you can
today.
get that high.
That was pretty good.
I think it's the music. So like every time you talk for now, maybe I'll just have the bed
Yeah.
ready to.
Ready? 1,
yeah.
2, 3. There we go.
Yeah.
Man, I sound like Mariah Carey now.
All right, let's get into it. Believe it or not here on BK and Ferrario. Guys, believe it or not, the Dodgers will represent the National League in the World Series after all this year.
I'll believe it. It's just, I mean, again, I think you said it earlier this week where it was like, well, this just isn't the same. You were talking about wanting to hate a team, and it's like, I just don't hate it. It's like, yeah, it's the Dodgers, man. Like, every year.
You hate this team?
Yeah. I mean,
Their stars are too likable.
Oh, I hate them.
I like one of their stars. I like Mookie Betts. I'm not a big Shohei guy. It's fun what he does. Don't think the personality's out there. And then Freddie Freeman, to me, is kind of like what Paul Goldschmidt was.
Oh, I love Freddie Freeman.
I just think he's kind of like the low-key
I
goes
just
about
hate
his
the
stuff.
organization as a whole, and I think it trickles down to the players.
Why do you hate the organization?
Because they're buying a World Series, and I hate it.
I'm not saying you're wrong.
I
I'm
love
genuinely
Mookie
curious.
Betts. Mookie Betts I love, though. That's one of my favorite players.
It bothers me how much I don't find them hateable. Like, I think the Yankees are more hateable to me than the Dodgers are.
Oh, see, I don't feel that way. No, I'm not saying I like the Yankees.
I don't
but
think the Yankees are good enough for me to hate them.
That's fair.
yeah,
You know, like...
they can't catch a baseball.
I never expect the Yankees
the
to
Red
do
Sox, for that
anything
matter.
good other than Aaron Judge. Like, they're just not good to me.
And in Aaron Judge in the playoffs, I generally don't expect much out of him either.
So,
I have higher expectations in the playoffs out of Stanton than I do for Judge.
I think the 3 teams that I hate are probably the Phillies, the Dodgers, and the Padres. Those would probably be the 3 that I hate.
And I like all of those teams.
No, you
I just
hate,
really
you hate
like
the
watching
Padres
them.
because of the manager.
Well,
Shocker.
Yeah.
I like the Padres, though. I really enjoy watching them play.
I don't know
and
if they have a likable player on their team.
I like Machado. I know everybody hates him. I really like watching Fernando Tatis Jr. I know T-Bone hates watching him. And the Phillies, like, I find the Phillies to be my favorite team to watch. They just have so many guys that I really like.
Yeah.
I love Kyle Schwarber. Bryce Harper is my favorite baseball player of this era. So,
Yeah, I like the Phillies because they do what I love best, which is they miss bats and they slug, baby, slug. Schwarber bombs, Harper bombs. Oh, yes,
Yes,
please.
that's true.
But yeah, I will believe this. I think I know that. Look, some might say this is overreaction to what the Reds are. The Reds were not a playoff caliber team. The Dodgers feel like a team that's peaking at the right time, and it's mostly led by their starting staff and the fact now that Mookie is starting to hit. They scare me. If they can get the lead early, they don't have to worry about their bullpen blowing things up.
I don't believe this. I think that they will lose to the Phillies in the NLDS.
That's cute.
Alex, what do you got for us?
Guys, real simple here. Believe it or not, the Blues win their first preseason game tonight.
Not.
I'll believe it. They've got their entire roster tonight. And
If you lose this
the
one, this is a
Senators are
problem.
bringing one line. So, yeah, I'll say believe it.
I don't know if you saw Montgomery's comments. Are you concerned at all that they've lost all of them? Okay. The amount of people that I have seen be like, they haven't won a preseason game.
I do
I'm
not
like,
care.
Who cares? You know,
I can't begin to describe to you how little I care about the overall results from the preseason.
I looked this up because Donnie brought it up on the podcast yesterday. Do you know what the Blues preseason record was when they won the Stanley Cup?
I was just going for that.
Donnie brought it up, and I'm like, well, first of all, I don't know, which tells you everything. 4-3 was their preseason, and
That's pretty good.
I answered it, and I go,
Maybe
what?
it is a problem.
When I didn't react, no, but they were awful for the first 3 months of that season. They had to fire their coach.
Good point.
So the preseason success actually doesn't matter, but that goes to show you how much preseason matters. I don't even remember what they did in preseason when they won the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, I'm not worried about it. Like, if they look really bad tonight against Ottawa's backups, maybe then we have a conversation because this team does need to get off to a fast start, right? They
that's
are
what
not
Monty
a team.
said.
They are not a team that has wiggle room because they've got like stars like McDavid in that. No, they are I would say, a fringe playoff team coming into the year, and you need to get off to a fast start.
This was Monty's comment. He said, I didn't feel good about our team the last 2 games, and we lost. If we win those games, do I feel like we're ready enough? Those things go through your head as a coach. As a competitor, you want to win hockey games, and we're playing our lineup tonight. So, like, you don't care, but also if you continue to lose, it's like, okay, is this team going to be ready, or are they going to start off slow?
I'm not worried about it at all.
Guys, believe it or not, Chaim Bloom will sign a starting pitcher this offseason to a multi-year deal.
Not. I do think he'll sign a starting pitcher. I do not think it'll be a multi-year deal. There's not a whole lot of them that I would be interested in signing to a multi-year deal this offseason.
Yeah, stay the hell away from multi-year deals because you want asset at the trade deadline, and 1 year, a couple of months left is a better option for you than somebody who's tied to that contract.
See, I kind of lean towards believe it, but not like a 5-year deal, to be clear. I'm thinking like a 2-year deal, and I wonder if he'll do it with someone like a Montgomery that's bouncing back from an injury.
Okay.
Right? You go like the 1-year deal. The first year, there's not a whole lot of money that's in it. You wait till about June or July, and then they come back, and then that second year, you maybe have that second year's guaranteed at like $10 to $15 million, and then boom, you hope that guy bounces back from injury.
Would you be interested in Ranger Suarez?
How old is he?
I think he's going to get a decent
30 years
contract,
old.
though.
I know.
Yeah, I would have interest, but I don't know that the Cardinals would do it.
Yeah, I don't think I would.
Because when I think multi-year deal, I'm thinking like truly 2 years, and that is like the cutoff point.
The reason I bring it up, Ranger Suarez is a really good starter, man. You look at what he's done over the last 4 years: 3.2, 3.5, 3.6, and then had one bad year, but it was kind of a little bit of bad luck. 4.1 ERA. In that stretch, he's got a 3.6 ERA overall, 105 starts, 20% above league average as a starting pitcher, and he appears to be getting better. He's going to be 30 years old this offseason. My guess is he just stays with Philly. They don't generally let their guys go, but they've got a lot of stuff that they've got to get figured out this offseason. He'll get a real deal, but if you're trying to jumpstart this thing and you decide to let Sonny Gray walk, maybe that's the way that you go about it. You say, hey, we'll go ahead and pay him the $25 million, and that's the money that we let go with Nolan Arenado and Sonny Gray. We just reinvested into a 30-year-old Ranger Suarez or something like that. Whether it's Suarez, Dylan Cease, Zach Gallen, one of these starters that's potentially available for you this offseason. I don't think they'll do it, but that's the kind of thing that you could see them do this offseason.
Yeah, I would like to see him try and make that move because I don't think you have to view this, even though we've talked about it, Chaim gets 2 years grace period. If you did give a guy like a 4 or 5 year deal, well, okay, sure, you're not getting the best return on that in the first 2 years, but you're banking on that guy still going to be pretty good in year 3 and 4 when you're hoping that you're good. And now you have that 1-2 punch, in theory, Suarez, Doyle, boom. Now you've got a 1-2 to lead your rotation.
All right, 314-399-9646. That's the Air Comfort Service X line for Believe It or Not. You guys give us a scenario. We will tell you if we are believing it or not here on 101 ESPN. From the 636, believe it or not, Mizzou will make it to a semifinal or better in college football prior to Illinois ever making it to the college football playoff at all. Believe it.
What?
Believe it. This happening this year.
No, not believe it.
Illinois not in.
Big weekend for Illinois the last weekend. Them winning that game really gave them a chance.
Cool. That's cute. You're not going to get in.
I'm not believing this because I don't know that if Mizzou or Illinois will ever be schools that can get to a semifinal in the playoff. I think they can be schools that get to the playoff. When we talk semifinals, we're talking creme de la creme, the top, the best. I don't know if these schools will ever get there. And if we're being honest, it's a lot easier to make the playoff in the Big Ten than it is in the SEC.
Yeah, it's fine. Mizzou's better than Illinois, so
no.
Believe it.
Illinois would beat them head-to-head this year.
Has Illinois lost by 53? PK, do you remember, has Mizzou ever lost by 53?
Close last year against A&M, but not quite.
It wasn't 53, though, was it?
They tried their best.
It wasn't 53.
From the 636, guys, believe it or not, Vanderbilt will end up being a better win on Missouri's schedule this year than a win against Alabama would be, given their respective schedules. This weekend will tell us the tale of that one. Vandy versus Alabama is, really one of the only compelling football games on the slate this weekend. We've been pretty spoiled, some really great weekends overall. It's so bad, Alex, that when I go over to the ESPN scores for the upcoming weekend, it doesn't even allow me to pick the top 25 matchups. It immediately goes to FBS because there are so few top 25 matchups of significance this year, this week.
I think, like you said, I'll believe it. But this week's going to tell you everything because if Alabama wins, then if you beat Alabama, that's the better one.
Have you guys seen the line on Texas versus Florida? If you haven't, please don't look.
I have not, but I assume it's fairly low.
What would you guess the line is? Texas is on the road at Florida, 2:30 kickoff on ESPN this week.
6.5.
Wow, good work. That's exactly
Is
what
that
it
it?
is.
Is it?
Texas minus 6.5 on the road at Florida.
I was thinking
That
it'd be
feels
like
low.
I was thinking it'd be a touchdown.
I think it's come down because I think earlier in the week it was like seven
That
and a half.
feels low, right? Am I wrong?
Oh
there?
no, I think
I
that's
think that
probably
tells you
right.
about both teams.
But
Florida's
Florida's
not
terrible.
Yeah, but so
Florida's
is
got
Texas.
defense though, and Arch is terrible too. I actually think like maybe if you went a little higher, like I would have seen like 7.5, 8.5. I actually think that's kind of close though. Like I think there's a chance Florida. I wouldn't say they win this game, but I think they can cover that spread. Arch Manning's that bad.
Okay.
By the way, I will not believe our believe it or not question because I don't think Vandy's winning this weekend. I think Alabama is, and then Bama would be the better win.
I agree. Believe it or not, BK will avoid getting shot in the Pick'em Challenge for every week the rest of the season.
Not.
No
Are
chance.
you kidding me?
No
Which, by the way,
chance.
BK will be serving his punishment on Monday.
Oh, yeah, next week.
Yeah, we've got a special guest that's going to take care of his face.
Alex Ferrario's wife.
I'll leave that
will be
sentence.
coming in
Oh,
to,
come
help
on,
me out.
man. Come on, man. Yeah, she's going to come in and paint your face.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
I told her, I said, we need to make him look like a bird.
A Jayhawk on the face.
Yeah.
And she goes, I can do that. I go, good. I said, you got to make it look good.
All right.
Great
Coming up in
objection.
about
I did it.
15 minutes, we'll get into the BK and Ferrario Rewind. But coming up next, do want to talk a little bit more about the St. Louis Cardinals. It's really our last week to give any kind of significant updates on the Cardinals because they actually have real conversations to react to. So given everything that we've heard this week, all of the reporting that has since come out afterwards as well with some of the trickle out, how are you feeling right now about where the Cardinals are at and what the plan is to get things back on track? We'll give you our thoughts. Want to hear from you as well coming up next year on 101 ESPN.
Tanner Hendrickson here with a Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. Last night, Dodgers finished off the Cincinnati Reds as they swept them in the wild card round, and they advanced to the NLDS where they await the Philadelphia Phillies. But today, 3 of the 4 wild card series go to a deciding Game 3, starting at 2 o'clock when the Tigers are at the Guardians. Then at 4 o'clock, it will be Padres Cubs, and 7 o'clock Red Sox at Yankees. And tonight, here on 101 ESPN, Blues preseason action as they take on the Ottawa Senators. We'll have pregame coverage starting at 6 o'clock with Alex Ferrario. Puck drop at 7 o'clock with the voice of the Blues, Chris Kerber, and Joey Vitale. The Sports Update is brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, a Daikin Heating and Air Conditioning dealer.
Alongside Alex and T-Bone on BK, so I wanted to get some thoughts. 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line. At this point, we've had kind of the trickle out of all of the information that was mentioned at some point on what was effectively media day for the St. Louis Cardinals as Chaim Bloom was introduced officially as the Cardinals president of baseball operations. We got to hear the press conference audio. We have since heard from Katie Wu about what was said in the reporters' opportunity to talk to him with the roundtable for the writers. And then I have listened to, I think you guys have as well, the John Rooney interview with Chaim Bloom. I also listened to this morning BT and Chip Carey, who did an hour-long interview with Chaim Bloom. Alex, after hearing all of it, I had one initial impression following the press conference, which was basically like, man, it did sound kind of similar. And as I listened back to the press conference, I think I understand now why I felt that way. One, it was about an 8-minute answer for him, or the pre-written speech by Chaim Bloom. There was like a 2-minute introduction of Chaim Bloom. And then there was like a 3-minute answer from Bill DeWitt III on attendance and what they were going to do to improve the game day experience. I just mentioned about 13 minutes of the 25-minute interview that we did.
Yeah, well, Bill DeWitt Jr. said that they haven't talked about payroll.
That was another minute. So now you're getting into it. You're like, man, there was roughly 10 minutes where Chaim Bloom could have said anything that was new and interesting and revealing about their plans. And so now, as I've heard, probably another hour plus of what his plans are, I'm kind of excited. I don't know how this is going to go. And I'm not sure what my expectations will be heading into 2026. But they appear to be more open to things than they have been in the past. I truly don't know what they're going to do with Brendan Donovan or Sonny Gray or Wilson Contreras, those 3 in particular this offseason. And that's intriguing to me because under the previous iteration of the Cardinals with John Mozeliak in charge, we had a pretty good idea of what the Cardinals were and were not going to do in any given offseason. And I think the unknown, there's some fear that comes along with. There's also some excitement and there's some freshness to it. And that gets me excited. Now that we've had a couple of days to marinate in all of this, how are you feeling,
So
Alex?
I think what you said there at the end is where I'm at. The unknown is exciting because honestly, even after hearing the interviews that John Rooney did and that BT and Chip did, to me, it's all still word salad. And I think it's just because of the ownership. Like, I have a permanent feeling about the ownership of the Cardinals that I don't know if is going to change unless I see them make actions. But the unknown is the exciting part because I am going to give him leeway. I'm going to give him an opportunity to change this. I actually truly am excited to see the players that Chaim evaluates because it's just a different person. It's a different set of eyes. It's a different group evaluating the players that are in the organization and players that you're trading for. Because if I'm a Milwaukee Brewers fan, man, anytime they make a trade, I'm thinking, oh, they just found a star.
That's the old joke about the Rays, right? I love this trade. Who'd they get?
Yeah. But like that's how I feel about other teams. But when the Cardinals make a trade, it's like, oh, well, that guy's going to be in the minor leagues in a couple of years. So that's the excitement part. Because when you're doing this rebuild or whatever they want to call it, you're getting rid of the old faces that have been around for too long that it's just like, man, I'm done seeing this guy. Give me something new. But it's not just give me something new. It's you're giving me something that might actually turn into a star. So I'm going to give Chaim that benefit of the doubt and time to evaluate. But nothing that they say has changed my opinion, because to me, it's all still word salad.
Gene, the dancing machine over on YouTube says, what would you like Bloom to say? That we were going to struggle for a few years? I liked that there was a direction. They seem to be talking about the end point, and everything up until then is about striving toward that end point. And the end point for them is competing for championships. And they're willing to say that out loud. How much does that matter? I don't know. Scale of 1 to 10, like a 3. It's not a high bar to clear. Just say the thing, right? But it's a bar that wasn't cleared previously. And so at least it's a starting point. At least it allows me to know this is what they're striving for. These are the actions they're taking to get there. And we can evaluate them along the way and whether or not they're succeeding or failing or somewhere in between. But that's what gets me a little bit excited about it. T-Bone, how do you feel after having a few days now to kind of sit with some of the answers?
Yeah, I find myself, I don't know if excitement is the right word, because a lot of the pieces that they're going to do, you're not going to see initial return on it. So it's hard for me to say, like, it's exciting, but I find it intriguing of what they're going to do. Because for the first time in a while, I feel like they're going to be willing to show some creativity, right? Show a willingness to take some swings. And if they want to get to that ultimate goal that you just laid out of, hey, we want to be a World Series contender and we want to make that happen for a consistent time period, you know what you got to do? You got to take swings to where it might completely fail.
Yeah.
It may not work, but you have to try for it, right? And that's the one thing that I felt was lackluster from over the last couple of years. There were no real swings, and it was all, like you kind of said, all predictable. There was no creativity about it. I mean, even going into this year, which was the runway season for them, we said at the beginning of the year, said, hey, like, do you consider trading Fetty, capitalizing while the value's there? And then you go out and you sign, like, Gibson back, and it was, no, we're just going to kind of run it back with Fetty. We're going to do the path of least resistance, and I don't think they're going to do that this offseason. Now, they may not trade a Donovan. They may not trade a Alec Burleson while he's got some high value right now. But I think they're more willing to listen on that stuff, and maybe they pull the trigger on one of them.
So that's something that I should have mentioned. My excitement is not about the season. Watching them on the field, I'm not overly excited about that.
If it was, we'd have to check you.
My excitement is about what they're going to do in the offseason. It's about following along with the transactions between November and the start of the regular season. That's where my excitement level comes in. And you probably use the better word, which is intrigue. My intrigue level is there. I mentioned in the last segment, hey, do you think maybe Ranger Suarez could be a guy that they would be interested in? I think probably not. Probably not. With John Mozeliak, it was definitely not.
Yes, that's where I was at.
And that's where, like, I find that kind of stuff to be interesting. Could they go out there and say, you know what? We are going to trade Sonny Gray because we're getting something in return for him. There's a real prospect. We like this kid. He's in the Dominican League right now. Give it like 5 years. We think he's going to become something. All right, you could sell me on it. We'll see.
I don't want to wait 5 years. Can you make it 3?
I hear you. But that's the kind of thing that maybe they're betting high upside on this kid that's 18 years old right now. And then they also get like a reliever in return. Whatever, fine. And with some of the money we're saving from him and Nolan Arenado, now we're going to go back to the market because we need somebody that can lead this rotation next year. We don't have anybody internally. We think Ranger Suarez, we're buying low here, actually. We think what we saw from him this year is more of what he's going to be. He's got a changeup that we believe in. We've got a couple of shape characteristics with his pitches that we can tinker with. And we think he can be a really good 2 to 3 for a championship contender. And we're going to keep him here for the next 4 to 5 years. Cool. That sounds interesting to me. Maybe they would think, hey, Dylan Cease. Well, we think San Diego screwed him up this year. He's 29 years old, going to be 30 next year. We actually think we're buying low here. And he could be for us, and though this sounds crazy, we actually think he could be our Zach Wheeler, where Wheeler never showed what he's been in Philadelphia until really he got to Philadelphia. And we think we can bring that out of him here. Those kinds of opportunistic signings, I would have completely dismissed them with John Mozeliak. I still think they're unlikely, want to make that clear, but maybe they're possible. Well, and that, to me, is exciting and interesting and intriguing.
That's where I'm at, too. Like, I mean, every time we do the Tinder Tuesday in the offseason, like, I come into it as a grumpy old man of, like, I'm just going to swipe left on all these because none of them are going to work. But now I can actually look at it and say, man, I might actually try and persuade the ownership group to say this guy makes us better now and for the future. That's the part, that's the unknown that we're talking about. Now I get to allow some grace for this to where it's like, hey, maybe he's got some creative ideas. Because in the Mo era, especially in the last 5+ years, it's been like, ooh, what about this creative thing? Remember with Chris Sale we talked about? Of like, how creative would that have been?
Robbie Ray?
Yeah, how creative would have that been? And they're like, yeah, it's not going to happen because they're not going to accomplish that. Now, I think the creativity could flourish for the Cardinals. But again, I have to see it before I can start getting really excited about it.
Robbie Ray is the one that really, that one hurts.
Yeah.
He's good.
I mean, Chris Sale has been awesome in Atlanta.
No doubt. It sounds like Chris Sale wanted to be there, so maybe it was never
You
a
got to
possibility.
sell him a little bit more on the arch and the zoo and T-Ravs.
Robbie Ray, a few years ago, was a Cy Young winner and then went through injuries, and you traded for him, and you knew, hey, year one, there's not going to be a whole lot here. But year two of this, you could have a legit, number one or number two starter. And Robbie Ray plus Sonny Gray, this year I think the Cardinals make the playoffs. If they had those two at the front end of their rotation, that's the one that really chaps my ass a little bit.
And in a couple of
they
years,
didn't explore that more.
In a couple of years, the Shane Bieber one's going to chap my ass. Because I think that would have been another creative one to where it was like, watch this guy.
Agent this offseason,
this
right?
guy. Did he only get a 1 year?
He's got a player option.
Oh.
But my guess is yes.
I mean, he come off of that injury, and it was like, oh, well, he's not going to be anything. And it's like, yeah, watch though, 30-year-old in a couple of years.
This is where you see it, and they go out and do that this offseason.
So they're going to get
maybe Bieber is the guy.
Suarez, Bieber, and Cease.
No,
That's what I'm saying.
Okay, look.
This team's winning a
That's
World
crazy.
Series.
They're probably
then.
doing all of that and trading for somebody that's going to slot into their rotation as well. It's going to be a great
What about a
offseason.
three-hole hitter?
Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. Don't get greedy. Come on.
Damn it.
Coming up next, BK and Ferrario Rewind here on 101 ESPN. Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. If you guys missed anything from today's show, be sure to check it out on the podcast page. 101ESPN.com and the free 101 ESPN app is where you go to find it. That is all sponsored by
Schaefer Door Company.
Hey, all week long, 101 ESPN has your chance to win free tickets to see 9 Inch Nails. That's coming up on February 25th at Enterprise Center. You can't even buy these tickets just yet, but you can win them right now here on 101 ESPN. Tickets for 9 Inch Nails go on sale next Wednesday, October the 8th. That'll be at noon, but we've got your chance to win free tickets for the show before you can even buy them. Text in 314-399-9646. That's 314-399-9646. That's the Air Comfort Service text line. If you are texter number 101 with the correct answer to the following question, you are getting the pair of tickets to see 9 Inch Nails coming up on February 25th right here in St. Louis. Earlier today, we mentioned, man, this lady, she stole something and she ended up getting arrested for doing so. What did she steal and where did she steal it from? If you know the correct answer to that question, your texter number 101, you are getting the tickets to see 9 Inch Nails. Find all the ticket details and a bonus shot to score free tickets for 9 Inch Nails right now at 101ESPN.com or on the 101 ESPN mobile app powered by Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers. I would say today, given the fact that it was a pretty light day in terms of sports news, Alex, like a 8.4 overall show out of 10 for us.
I was going to say an 8.4 also. I was hoping an 8.8, but my voice and it's underwhelmed today.
Let's see. Alex didn't breathe heavy into the mic today.
That's pretty good. Good start.
Yeah,
I think it's actually.
I like the glasses as well.
I think BK was the one that was breathing heavy into the mic yesterday, and he was blaming it on me.
I don't think so. I'm gonna go.
Was that,
I'm gonna go 8. I'm gonna go 8.5.
Come on, T-Bone.
T-Bone's like, no, this has been a
8.5.
pretty consistent issue, and we finally said something to him.
I hate all of you guys.
Listen,
Lord
man,
Vader.
I've got the big nose. You've got the one that people can hear on the radio. So
It's not even from my
we've all got
nose,
our
man. It's
thing.
from my mouth. I'm a mouth breather because I'm fat.
I've got no problems at all.
Do you have the open mouth at night? Are you the
Well, so because of my what's that? First of all, no, because
Kara,
of
is that when we get on the plane?
no, that's T-Bone. I got a picture of T-Bone on the way back from Nashville. No, I have this like mouthpiece that I have to put in my mouth.
Hey, me too.
For the implant, so that I don't like grind my teeth with this like metal plate over here. So I can't really have my mouth open because the mouthpiece is
I'm
all
a
over the
total
place.
diva when I sleep. I've got the eye mask that I wear. I've got a mouth guard that I put
That
in.
so feels right.
I'm destined.
Soy boy to the
Yeah.
max at night.
I'm destined for a CPAP machine sooner or later.
Well, maybe we should go ahead and get that appointment like now.
Well, no, I don't need to be told I have pre-diabetes, man. I need to start exercising. Put the cake down, Ferrario.
All right. Earlier today, you had a Belvitas, and man.
Hey, the
Watch
carbs on that weren't bad, all right? Jeez.
Did we need it though?
No.
Did you want it or did you need it, Alex?
I had Raisin Bran cereal this morning,
You
and I
should've
had
done the rest of the
grapes
day.
this drive-in.
Oh yeah, I don't think you
sugars.
need it. Yeah.
Those are. It was red grapes too because it's good for your heart.
Well,
I hate both of
I'd
you.
have a salad for lunch.
Look, I'm
playoff
not-
baseball that connection today. We've got
Shut up.
3 games. The one series that nobody needed to see a third game of did not advance to a third game, and thank God. We'll see the Dodgers again in the NLDS. The Reds, goodbye, so long, sayonara. Tigers versus the Guardians coming up here in about 5 minutes.
That was also the one that we didn't need to see 3 games of.
Yeah, that's a fair point. But baseball, we get to see a third game of it.
Baseball. Ooh.
You guys have a lean in this one? Tigers versus the Guardians. Jack Flaherty on the mound today.
Flip a coin. You want heads or tails?
Guardians are the slight favorite.
Yeah, I would take the Guardians, but it's literally a flip of a coin.
I've got the Tigers.
I'm going Tigers. I think Jack has a big game.
Here's what I say: the team that scores first wins.
I mean, there might not be any more scoring.
gonna say,
That's
that
why
might be the lone run.
That's why I said it. 1-0.
Padres versus Cubs coming up at 4 o'clock. Yu Darvish, the corpse of him, versus Jamison Tyone as the starting pitching matchup. Not a whole lot of juice to that one. You guys have a lean you like?
I'm going Cubs.
going-
Darvish doesn't have it.
Give me
Yeah.
Padres. I think this is going to be a bullpen game today more often than not, and I think the Padres have the better of the
Hey,
two bullpens.
they're out-getters.
I'm going Cubs. First time we'll see a team from the NL Central win a playoff series since 2019.
My God.
And one of them has to go to the NLCS.
Yeah.
So technically,
Maybe. If the Cubs advance, yes.
Yeah.
well, yeah. I mean, we're foregone conclusion. Cubs will advance.
All right, and then Red Sox versus the Yankees. Schlitter versus Early in that one. You got to be really careful with that one. Schlitter is a very good starter for the Yankees. He's young, understood, so you never know how that's going to go in a playoff setting, especially a game like this where it's win or go home. I've got the Yankees, though. I think they have the decided pitching advantage. I just get really nervous once their bullpen comes into the game.
Yep, I've got the Red Sox. I don't think the Yankees can go 9 innings with them.
I'm going Yankees. I think the Red Sox bullpen's fried. I think the Yankees win.
On the NFL side of things, it's Rams versus 49ers.
Rams.
Everybody is out for the 49ers tonight. I like
That's
the
not
Rams.
one to celebrate.
49ers plus 8.5, though. That might be worthwhile. I prefer the Rams side of things in that one.
Rams by 21.
Alex Blues back in action tonight against the Senators. Senators
Take the
bringing
Senators.
Brady Kachuk, but the rest of their lines are just AHL players. Blues should get their first preseason win tonight. Alex will have pregame coverage beginning at 6 o'clock right here on your home of the Blues, 101 ESPN. For Alex Ferrario and Tanner Hendrickson, I'm Brandon Kiley. If you missed anything from today's show, be sure to check it out on the podcast page. I'm going to be off tomorrow. I'm hoping to do the picks, though, from home. Little man's a little bit under the weather. So the guys will have you taken care of tomorrow from 11 to 2. The Fast Lane is coming your way next here on 101 ESPN.